Esteemed and honorable members of council, Chief of Staff for Mayor Carney, Saran K, Chief of Staff, our City Council, Elijah Simmons, Deputy Chief of Staff Mergler, Ajay English, Financial Controller, Office of Management and Budget, Bob Weir, Real Estate and Housing Director, and members of the public. Today is Monday, April the 27th, and I would like to call to order the Finance Committee meeting for the Real Estate and Housing Budget hearing. I am Finance Committee Chair Michelle Hurley, and I will be chairing the budget hearing this evening. There are 3 budget hearings scheduled for today: Real Estate and Housing Department, Human Resources Department, and the Law Department. I would first like to start by recognizing members of the Finance Committee that are in attendance this evening by doing a roll call. Councilmember Darby, Councilmember Hackett, Councilmember Oliver,
Present.
Vice Chair Bracy, Councilmember Spadola,
Present.
and President Congo.
Here.
I would also like to recognize any other council persons present by doing a roll call as well. Councilmember Owens.
Present.
Councilmember Cabrera asked to be excused. Councilmember Willard.
Present.
Councilmember Johnson. Councilmember Field. Councilmember McCoy. Councilmember
I
Darby.
was never recognized, and I'm on the Finance Committee.
I did call your name early. You was the first person I called, Councilmember Darby. Thank you.
All right.
And Councilmember McCoy. Mayor Carney presented a proposed budget to council on March 19th. The budget as proposed includes the following: 0% property tax rate increase, a 9.95% water, sewer, and stormwater rates increase, that's equivalent to about $7.95 increase to monthly bills based on a typical residential customer using 4,000 gallons of water per month. 1.16% increase in the sewer factor for inside city customers only, and $25.7 million transfer from the Tax Stabilization Reserve Fund for the following purposes: $1.7 million transfer to the general fund to balance the budget, considering expenditures is far outpacing revenues. $4 million transfer to the Economic Development Strategic Fund, which $1 million is specifically earmarked for the Small Minority Business Program. $20 million will be transferred to the Neighborhood Stabilization Fund for the following: $200,000 for the Housing Expo, $500,000 for the Wilmington Neighborhood Conservancy Land Bank. We have $500,000 for the Home Lottery Repair Program, $2 million for our Vacant Lots Program, and $6.8 million for Affordable Housing Subsidy. The proposed general fund budget totals $212 million, up $10.8 million, or 5.4%. The proposed water sewer fund budget totals $100 million, up $5.1 million. There is not a capital budget for fiscal year 2027 because it is only done in the even years. The proposed general fund budget factors several items that will warrant such discussion during these proceedings. Expenditures far outpacing our revenues this year are based on the latest 5-year projections done by the Office of Management and Budget. Also, our fiscal year 2026 mid-year budget amendment that added new positions to the budget. Also, we have a net change of 19 new positions that we're adding to this proposed budget, with 12 positions pertaining to our EMS and ambulance service. And then we have our ARPA funding, which is required to be fully exhausted by December 31st, 2026. CPI, which was initiated by City Council in CY 2023, yet this current proposed budget lacks the necessary funding for the continuation of this program. And then we have the Office of Community Safety, which was established by executive order of the mayor in March 2026 and was funded via a mid-year budget amendment. Then we have our property tax assessment. This is a result of a court mandate that's within the purview of Newcastle County, who authorized Tyler Technologies to perform a property tax assessment based on market rate value, which is revenue neutral. I am looking forward to working with the mayor and my colleagues to learn more on the plans for how the mayor intends to best handle this as well as Newcastle County. While realizing that the bifurcated property tax rate relives some of the financial burden, it needs to be determined if this budget provides the necessary funding and resources to assist with appeals and if any internal assessments that may be required. Also, are water sewer rates. While the FY27 proposed water rates submitted to council from the mayor are lower than the recommendations by the Utility Citizens Advisory Board, this council must review these rates as well as understand the impact of other rising costs such as Delmarva bills, property taxes due to the reassessment, rising costs of gas, and so many other items. The mayor has shared his vision for the intended planned use of the FY27 proposed budgetary funds. Now, it is council's fiduciary responsibility to review the budget, have budget hearings with the various departments to get a complete plan on the intended use of these budgetary funds, and then to have negotiations with the administration on any changes that may be warranted on this proposed budget. By charter, council must adopt a balanced budget, and it shall be the duty of the council at least 30 days before the end of the fiscal year to adopt the annual operating ordinance for the next fiscal year. Council has shared its priorities with the mayor, which are inclusive of the following. One, public safety. We're asking for funding for CPSI, extending CPSI to other parts of the city, expanding partners in care hours, and the Wilmington Community Police Accountability Board. Under neighborhood stabilization, we are bringing back the home lottery repair program, the Goodwill litter program, property rehabilitation program, affordable housing community revitalization fund, a housing trust, and property tax reassessment inequities. Under community Juneteenth celebration, vacant contract structure for rodents. And then under education, we have the safe haven funding for a site location in the 6th district. We also have the HBCU funding specifically for the city of Wilmington, residents only, and then the Office of Educational Advocacy. Under economic development, we have small minority business program, we have the Small Business Expo, and a nonprofit summit for the civic associations. And then under financial stability, we have water assistance program. We're bringing that back again this year, along with our property tax abatement program. And then under parks, we have the Christina Park, we have Friendship House, and our youth master plan. Also, ensuring that council legislative mandates are adequately funded, such as traffic calming devices, historical markers, residency assistance fund, escrow program, and the property tax abatement legislation, to name just a few. Before I turn it over to Mr. Hayford, OMB Fiscal and Operational Analyst, for a financial overview of real estate and housing, I would like to inform everyone that public comments will be made at the end of each department's budget hearings, and that we look forward to having participation from the public. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes. If there is any follow-up information during any of the budget hearings, Ms. Bass-Knight will track and follow up on those requests. The budget hearings have time limitations due to time constraints. I kindly ask if all can be mindful and respectful of time. All budget questions should be of fiscal budgetary matter only and will be limited based upon time limitations. I ask that if my colleagues have any questions, please raise your hand. It is intended for each department to first present, then questions will be slated afterwards. Finance members will be acknowledged first, then other council members, followed by the public at the end of the presentation. Each council member is allotted 2 questions and 2 follow-ups. Again, questions from Finance Committee members will be acknowledged first. At this time, I will now turn it over to Mr. Hayford, OMB Fiscal and Operational Analyst, to provide a financial overview, then followed by the City Director, Director Weir, as well as for questions and answer session with Council. This hearing is tentatively slated for 90 minutes. The floor is yours, Mr. Hayford.
Madam Chair, can you load it for me? Okay. All right. Okay. Good evening, Madam Chair, Council President, and members of City Council. This evening, I would like to present the Department of Real Estate and Housing FY2027 proposed budget on behalf of the Office of Management and Budget. Next slide. The Department of Real Estate and Housing is requesting a total general fund budget of about $2.8 million, an increase of about $114,000 or 4.2% compared to the original FY 2026 budget. Next slide, please. Regular salaries increased by $4,500, mainly due to cost of living adjustment and anniversary step increases. In MS&E, consultants increased by $5,000 to a new total of $70,000 to ensure compliance with federal reporting requirements. This increase was fully offset by the elimination of the miscellaneous charges NOC account. Debt service increased by $106,000, largely due to principal and interest charges resulting from the December 2025 bond issuance. Next slide, please. Moving on to the federal HUD grant. Projected funding for CDBG, Home Investment Partnerships, Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS, and the Emergency Shelter Grant are expected to remain relatively unchanged from FY 2026, totaling approximately $3.9 million. This concludes my presentation. I turn the floor back to the chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hayford. Director Weir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon to you, to the council members that are present, to President Congo, and to all our citizen clients that are either here or watching on television. My opening statement is about my department's vision. The vision of the Real Estate and Housing Department is to improve the quality of life for the residents of the city of Wilmington. We do that by increasing the supply of affordable housing, improving housing markets, and the existing housing stock, promoting self-sufficiency and engaging in activities to stabilize and revitalize neighborhoods. The department plans, allocates, administers federal, state, and local resources for the benefit of the persons of low and moderate income and the neighborhoods in which they live. We involve residents to the greatest extent feasible in decisions that affect their lives. In carrying out our mission, the department partners with other city departments, government agencies, the private sector, and other organizations that share its goal. As far as our top 3 priorities, to increase the supply of affordable housing that is decent, safe, and sanitary. 2, engage in activities geared towards stabilization and revitalization of neighborhoods. And 3, increase homeownership opportunities through city-sponsored initiatives and collaborative efforts with nonprofits and for-profit developers. Our performance measures are we support organizations that provide these services to the city of Wilmington, to the most needy residents, and we have to do that in compliance with the funding sources, which is very important to reduce or eliminate the liability to the city. We administer or fund programs to create affordable housing, preserve existing housing stock, and to help stabilize those neighborhoods. And then we also increase the accessibility to affordable homeownership units through our efforts.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that, Director Weir. Okay, so we're going to jump into our questions. And this question, number 1, is loaded, but I will read it. And let's see here. And then you can answer the question. So, the Delaware General Assembly recently introduced SB 23 to require counties and municipalities to include an affordable housing plan and comprehensive plans. If passed, it would require municipalities to develop an affordable housing plan that includes an inventory of existing affordable housing, an analysis of existing and projected housing needs for all income levels, along with an assessment of barriers to meeting those needs, reporting on the percentage of permits issued for affordable housing, percentage of all housing units in the city that meet the definition of affordable, and an objective of reaching a minimum of 20% affordability for all housing inventory. Is this budget sufficient to support compliance with the objectives and reporting standards of the affordable housing plan component of the comprehensive plan if it's enacted?
Madam Chair, the proposed legislation requires affordable housing plans for counties and municipalities with populations over 2,000 people. So Wilmington would need to be in compliance. The real estate and housing already completes a 5-year comprehensive plan that includes affordable housing with goals. It seems to me that if this legislation is passed, that there will be a multi-department response as the land use, economic development, and the mayor's office also was involved in comprehensive plans. When we talk about the need in resources to bring 20% of our housing stock into affordability, and that affordability definition for me is under 80% area median income, I think the answer is that no, there aren't enough resources to do that in the short term. This is going to be a long-term plan. Are we talking about 10 years? We're talking about 15 years. We're talking about 20 years. But it would be like climbing the ladder, rung after rung after rung, as we are successful, and then we move on to the next.
All right, thank you. We're going to move on to question number 2. Understanding that the 5-year revenue and expenditure projections show expenditures for outpacing revenues for FY27 to FY30 and FY27 general fund proposed budget uses 25.7 of the tax stabilization reserve fund. Can you please share how this budget aligns with closing any potential budget gaps, and you can specify under the 2 bullets.
The Real Estate Housing's administration programs and project funding is primarily federally funded. We're an entitlement community that's based on our population, and that is directly from the federal budget. When we talk about non-federal programs and projects, they would require additional staffing and consultancy based on the volume and detail of the projects and programs. When we talked about this earlier, I think it's a universal that we know that there's a demand on resources that are not going to be met in the short term. But when we look at where the federal funding is going, primarily that is where real estate and housing sits as far as in that lane. And if there would be additional funding, we'd have to bring more people on. I mean, right now we're only at 9 staff people total. I joke about it, we're small but mighty. So as far as, when we talk about additional resources, that would also encompass us looking at staffing too.
Okay, I would like to acknowledge Vice Chair Bracy. We're going to move on to question number 3, Director. Okay, what is the plan for the $16.8 million funding? There is, let's see, the city is going to support a mix of large 10 units and small projects focused on increasing the supply of affordable housing. As you know, this includes but not limited to land currently under control, partnering with certain developers, and applying flexible affordability standards to meet community needs. The city will not construct homes itself. Instead,
I'm sorry.
are we on the same page? Okay. Okay. He's here?
Chair was doing a
Okay.
good job, so I just let her go.
Okay. All right. So we're going to start all over again. I got the corrected version here. So for question, we're on number 3?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So can we please discuss the planned use for $20 million, $20 million drawdown from the Tax Stabilization Reserve Fund to the Neighborhood Stabilization Fund for special projects. For example, the 16.8 affordable housing, the 2 million vacant lots, the 500,000 for home repair lottery, the 500,000 for land bank, and the 200,000 for architectural and engineering services for pre-development work and planning. And Director, you can answer letters A through H.
A through H, yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So we're looking at the return on investment of the $20 million in the projected timeframe. When we talk about affordable housing, the return on that investment is the actual individuals that are living in those properties, the families that are growing up in a stable environment. When we talk about that return on investment, it's often confused in my mind with actual cash. When we look at the number of affordable units that we are projecting out of that, it's over 200 units. We are talking about that's less than 10 years. When we talk about the number of units and the number of dollars, we're averaging out at under $100,000 per subsidy, so that would be in the $80,000 subsidy. There's going to be some that are less, there's going to be some that are more. When we talk about the definition of affordability, and it was mentioned as far as a sliding scale, if you are looking to house individuals that are making 30% of the area median income, and that is $25,100 for a single person, the subsidy that is necessary to drive that rent or the sales price is higher than it is for someone that has a higher income. Say, for instance, if they're making 80% area median income, which is $66,850. So when we talk about that sliding scale, we will be looking at what the actual tenants or buyers of the properties their income would be, and then that would be part of the matrix that we would put together to offer assistance. When we talk about specifically planned allocations for certain percentages of funds for large developers or small developers, there is no current allocation along those lines. When we're looking at the definition of large and small, Chairperson, you mentioned that we were talking about over 10 units is a larger development versus a smaller development is under. We see that the large development subsidy program is going to be shouldered mostly by nonprofit developers that will produce 100% or less affordable units for their entire project. We can see examples of that throughout the city that we have quality, manageable, service-enriched, affordable housing. We also know that there are going to be some for-profit developers that are looking to build income diversity in their developments, but we do not see any of those developments being 100% affordable. The for-profits will be looking to meet that income diversity versus I think some of our nonprofits are going to be looking for serving a certain income. When we talk about the infills, they would go in any of the vacant lot product that we're talking about would go into the small development program. When we talk about those requirements for, say, for instance, get a lot, what we're looking at is we're looking at the city right now has 2,200 vacant lots as estimated by the Land Use Department. The Land Bank has control over approximately 150, and we believe that the city has control over approximately 40 that could go into that mix. And what we're looking to do with that program, I will get into the details in further slides, but what we're looking to do is we're looking to set up small, local minority contractors with a fast track. So as an example, we're looking already at all those lots and seeing what their dimensions are, what variances they're going to need, what's the sewer and water connection in those properties. Because a lot of the lots have been vacant for a number of years, and we know that once you get in the ground, you're going to find those kind of problems. So what we want to do is we want to do that work beforehand. I'm very pleased to announce that the Land Use Department and Public Works is 100% on board in doing the preliminary work on all these lots.
How many is that again?
We have 150 that the Land Bank has control over, and the city has approximately 40.
The city.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we're looking at some of the work that can be done beforehand. When we are talking about those lots, we're also going to have to go in and do test pits because they're the places where developers trip. They're the places where it costs developers more money. We're also, as part of this program, we are looking to have a pre-development fund, architectural and engineering fund, so that the small developers that come in that don't have the $10,000 to $20,000 that they can hire an architect or an engineer to get their project off the ground, that'll be made available. So we're talking about how can we set these small local minority contractors up to be successful and in a very rapid fashion, versus when we talk about some of the large nonprofits or for-profit developers, they have staff, they have a back room, they have all those pieces that are working with them. I'm not saying that we're not going to assist that, because our goal is to have more affordable units in the city, but we know that some folks need help more than others.
So in other words, these dollars are going to developers at different levels.
Absolutely, and as far as the example I used about the lots, they will not be grants given to the developers. They will actually be improvements to the lots that they are going to build on.
Okay.
So when we talk about the implications, say for instance, of Public Works, if we would go to Public Works and say that we have 50 or 80 contractors are going to come to their door and knock on it and say, we want to put sewer and water into our lots, it would overload them. Right now, what we're doing is we're scanning before we get there, what the work needs to be done, and then the Public Works Department could actually do that work under their contractors. And what it would produce is an improved lot.
Okay.
Which, if you look at any other environment, improved lots reduce the chance of failure.
Okay.
Because we know what's in the ground, we know that the water and sewer are placed in the right spot. We're also looking at, you mentioned earlier, as far as we're looking at bringing design into the equation. I've reached out to the National Association of Minority Architects, along with the Architects Institute of America, and they are very interested in partnering with the city to actually do designs. We're hoping that we can have a contest to build some of the momentum that we are seeing right now in the city, that people want to move here, people want to build here, and how can we make that as easy as possible for them.
Okay.
We're also talking to the Land Use Department about having pre-approved plans, so that if someone comes in and they have a 18-foot wide lot, there is an option of pre-approved plans, so there's not a delay between when they would come in to apply for a permit and when they get a permit. So we're trying to think about all those pieces as far as part of this overall plan. When we talk about, this is G, specify amount of funds allocated, expended, and encumbered through the homeowner lottery repair. I have actually a slide for that later on in the presentation. When we talk about those initiatives with the homeowner repair program, we partner also with some of the nonprofits in the community, the Ingleside Senior Center, Habitat for Humanity, Newcastle County Healthy Homes. So we are constantly trying to look for partners that have money. It's as simple as that. If you have money that you can spend in the city of Wilmington, we want to talk to you. When we talk about H, has the city fulfilled its funding commitment to the land bank since the inception? Yes, I do have the details in my presentation. And also, yes, the land bank has fully exhausted their $3.1 million in city ARPA funds as per their last audit.
Okay. All right. Thank you. We're going to move right on to question number 4. Can you please discuss if this budget provides adequate funding and resources?
Chair, we have several more slides, actually.
Yeah, I was going to say, that
separate
question
ones.
3 is multi-layered.
Okay, no problem.
So in 3A, I just would take a minute to go through some of the details that I might not have talked about, as far as when we're looking at the city's going to support large and small projects. We are going to include but not limit the land that's currently under control, because we think that's an asset for us, and it's a zero cost at that point. We do know that there'll be other vacant lots in the city that will be coming through that program that will not be controlled by the city or the land bank. We're partnering with developers and applying flexible affordability standards, as I mentioned earlier, which can be driven as low as 30% of the area median income. We're not going to construct homes ourselves. Instead, we're going to support qualified developers through land access, incentives, and funding tools. The subsidy amounts was asked quite a few times, as far as it's going to be subject to the income limits of the end users. It's going to have to be on demonstrated need. We have a formula right now that's going to put a cap on allowable developer fees. The idea that this will need to be fast-tracked because we know that this money is fungible and things are not getting cheaper, they're getting more expensive as we go forward. The locations are going to be where the existing controlled infill lots are now. We're also looking at opportunities on vacant properties and mixed-use sites, along with the ability to leverage private and public investment. As I mentioned earlier, if someone is getting grants or funding from other sources, we're very interested in talking to them. What's our focus? Minority-owned and small local contractors. We have some experience in identifying and recruiting those through the ARPA program. We're going to be looking for pre-development grants for those folks, infrastructure assistance, and sliding scale development grants with the goal of expanding their participation in building long-term capacity, which we've seen out of the ARPA funds. Existing projects can also request affordability, can also request assistance with affordable housing that they are putting together. They're going to go through a needs-based review. Developer fee caps will apply. We are looking for that to be a very transparent process. There will be an application, a review and scoring, award decisions with payments for completed work or reimbursement for eligible expenses.
Okay.
On 3G, if I'm not mistaken, the question was asked about the home lottery repair.
Correct.
Thank you. So we've had roughly we're averaging about 70 per round. That's averaging somewhere around 700,000 per round there. Our first one, we were a little over budget, but the $10,000 cap, we've stayed tight to that in the last two. And in our current round, they are either under construction or under bid. So I don't have any numbers right this very second, but we have been moving those along with our partner in Habitat for Humanity, which does a great job for us. The next slide, I think, is 3H.
Yes.
That's in reference to the land bank. As far as the budget has a $500,000 proposed grant to the land bank, and that would be very specific to their administrative fees and costs. They have been successful in raising funds from other resources. Just included some up-to-date numbers where they've disposed to date 183 affordable units for homeownership, 38 for affordable rental, 121 properties to nonprofit joint projects or side lots. That's parcels for green leases and green space. They have approximately 150 vacant lots. They have approximately 36 structures, of which 11 are under construction. 3 are reserved for nonprofits. The Albert Palmer site in Southbridge, Gibraltar, off of Pennsylvania Avenue is in their inventory. They have 3 Jumpstart properties that they're working with the real estate and housing on. That's a unique program where the developers are trained through a Senair partnership, and that's been successful to date as far as taking those first-timers and having properties renovated. 1 in demo, 2 in disposition, 3 are listed for homeownership in the Hilltop. They have a garage, and they're holding a couple for future projects, and 7 they're going to be on board to put on the market for affordable homeownership.
Okay. All right. So that completes all of your answers for question number 3. Okay. All right. So now we can move on to question number 4. Can you please discuss if this budget provides adequate funding and resources for projects that provide essential public services to low and moderate income families and neighborhoods and homelessness prevention, and specify any budgetary initiatives and collaborations to support home ownership?
Thank you, Madam Chair. As far as the budget, when we talk about, and this is, I mentioned this earlier, is that when we look at the need, the resources across the board are stripped bare. We are trying to be as informed and as clever as we can when we talk about applying those federal funds to serve low and moderate income families and neighborhoods, and homeless prevention and services are included in that. When we talk about the budgetary initiatives and collaborations for homeownership, Real Estate and Housing participates regularly in homeownership fairs and events and presents the Live Near Your Work program to every new employee orientation, and that's actually been very successful as far as folks taking advantage of that.
Okay, all right. We're going to move on to question number 5. Given that the state of Delaware is taking more action regarding lead-based paint, can you please share if this budget provides adequate funding and resources to best address, or if any leveraging with any other nonprofits?
This would be part of our federal budget that we currently partner with the Newcastle County Lead Hazard Control and Healthy Homes program. It seems that the city of Wilmington has the census tracts that have the most lead hazard in them, and the county has the staff and the grant budget to help us. When we talk about that, also includes rehabilitation work that they do, and we partner with them. We currently are also replacing all the lead drinking lines in the east side as part of our redevelopment there. So that's something that we're assisting with federal funds. We're assisting what Public Works is doing to see if we can accelerate that removal of that hazard. When we talk about for lead safe and lead free certifications, Real Estate and Housing does sponsor lead-based paint safe worker certification. We've done 3 years running now, and we put 10 to 12 people through each time we run one of those courses. It has been in partnership with the Jumpstart program, but at the same time, it's open to anyone that would like to take that as far as with seats available.
Okay, and under 5A, can you specify any plans to assist with lead-safe or lead-free certifications such as HB 70?
At this point, we are working with, the Real Estate and Housing Department is working with the Newcastle County program. I believe that that would impact our License and Inspection Department a little bit more than Real Estate and Housing, as far as doing the inspections and the follow-up.
Okay, all right, we're going to move right on to question number 6. Understanding the legal challenges with evolving federal mandates pertaining to sanctuary cities, can you please specify if any potential impact to your budget if Wilmington was a welcoming city or safe haven for immigrants?
Of course, with the conditions in Washington right now, with the entitlement grant, we are always holding our breath till we get our award letter, which we have done this year, just recently. When we talk about the federal mandates, really federal policy, executive orders, legislative efforts, court rulings, they're all going to dictate those federal endowment funds. When we talk about the city's reaction to it, I think I did mention court rulings. So right now, the entitlement funds have not been threatened, but if they are, that would be part of a process that we'd have to deal with.
Okay, all right. We're going to move on to question number 7. With the recent criteria changes pertaining to the Community Development Block Grant Fund and other federal funds, can you please share the impact for the $4 million budgeted across Community Development Block Grant, the Home Investment Partnership Program Fund, Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS, and Emergency Solutions Grant? And I would like to say you can specify as it relates to letters A through F.
Yes, thank you. As far as, the previous slide showed that there has been a small increase, and most of that is with the housing for people with AIDS. That is because the trajectory of that disease is changing, and it is now being qualified by the federal government as a chronic disease. At one point, it was, if someone, say for instance, had tenant-based rental assistance, it was forever. The federal government started to look at it a little bit differently, and what they've asked us to do is to take on the Salem County as far as the jurisdiction there. So that the increase through the HOPA funds really reflects on our taking the Salem County's client list, client load. When we talk about the other funding, it's formula-based. We were expecting about that, so there's no surprises there. When the concerns about the compliance with the federal executive orders regarding diversity, equity, and inclusion, we have, through the law department, changed our contracts. So we are in compliance at this point, but we don't really see any negative impact at this time. When we talk about contingency plans with the federal government, if there's less funding, the decision will have to be made. Is there going to be less activity and there's going to be less workforce, or will the local budget pick up some of that $4 million a year? As I mentioned earlier, we have already downsized in real estate and housing so that the administrative caps that we work under do not put any additional stress on the city general fund. But at the same time, as far as if the overall grant is cut, there will have to be hard decisions made.
Yes, Director Weir, you mentioned Salem County. Like, how does that benefit Wilmington, or does it take away from Wilmington?
I don't think there's a true benefit. It is a acknowledgement that the city of Wilmington's community development capacity is one that the federal government asked us to take that caseload on. We will then have a partner to do that, but it'll be part of our contract with them. We also work with Hartford County in Maryland too.
Okay.
So the participating jurisdiction of Wilmington is being asked to do more because some of these smaller jurisdictions don't have anyone to do it.
Okay, like a pass-through. You're like a
Exactly.
pass-through. Okay, just want to be clear on that.
Yep.
Okay. All right, so we're going to move on to question number 8, I believe. Can you please discuss the plan used for, did you have
7.
more to,
Should be 7.
share?
Yeah. There we go. Yep.
which letter?
This is 7.
We were on, let's see, we were on 7, and I asked you to specify A through F, and you were on, I thought you were on F. So you completed everything that you needed to answer for number 7?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I think the only thing that I really want to share with this slide, this 7 slide, is that we have a process for the entitlement funds. We run from generally in December through to February. We wait for our notification from Washington, which just came in last week. And the question was, what's the difference between what's requested and what's allocated? And I think that it's important to share that there was over $6 million requested, and we have approximately $2.6 million as far as available to be allocated. So when you talk about the scale of what is being requested for public services, public facilities, emergency solutions grant, HOPWA, and home requests, there are a lot more requests than there are funds to be allocated.
For sure. Okay. I believe that covers both concerns and contingency plans for federal funding.
And that, yes, and Madam Chair, that will also be presented to council in May as far as when we have our, because there is a public notice period that we have to meet, and there's some other requirements, but we will do a full presentation of the draft budget, and then hopefully in June, we'll have the council vote on it.
Okay. All right. So we ready to go to question number 8?
I'm ready.
Okay. All right. So can you please discuss the plan used for $1.55 million budgeted in community activities, and you can answer letters A through E.
Thank you. So as far as the neighborhood clean teams, there is a slide with the clean teams, their name, their neighborhood, and how many dollars they were allocated to the year. The clean team, it's a flat request this year. What we did last year is we had an increase because there was a required increase in the minimum wage, so that they're meeting their compliance there. But what we also did is that we also asked them to expand their impact areas. And we've expanded their areas almost 10% as far as when we really looked at what they were doing. They felt that they could handle those areas. We are also identifying hotspots within their areas that I think is an improvement. Given that they had a grid attack, that they would go the same streets, the same times, so forth and so on. And what we really looked at is, hey, where is the trash accumulating and where do they really need to be? And we've had some partnership and cooperation changes in as much that there's an area, as a, for instance, that on Monday mornings they go out and they pick the trash up, and Public Works goes and does street sweep on the same area. So we think we're getting better at the coordination between their effort and city efforts, and we've also expanded their impact area so that they might not be, there are streets that do not have as much trash as others, and they are prioritizing that so that they can fit in more area, which I think is a positive.
Are they still over at Southbridge?
Southbridge, I do not have a clean team in Southbridge. We have someone that we actually have hired out of real estate and housing to take care of that on a regular basis.
Okay.
When we talk about the Live Near Your Work, that's a flat, again, request for $150,000. I guess the mixed message there is that we have expended all that money, and with the down payment settlement assistance, we are also just about there with expenditures for this year. So that's a good sign that we are having people move into our city. As far as the non-federal activities, the non-federal activities are all the miscellaneous. So when we talk about our lots, and that's one of the reasons why I'm so excited about the development of these vacant lots, because they represent maintenance fees. Same thing with the land bank. When you talk about what the land bank spends their money on is picking up trash and cutting grass on their lots. Let's get those lots vibrant with people living on them. When we talk about real estate and housing's grass cutting, debris and snow removal, title searches, appraisals, testing and abatement for environmental contaminants, property acquisition, outside legal counsel, those type of things is included in that $200,000. As far as question 8, when we talk about the clean team, there was a question about winter months, expanding them into the winter months. That's problematic in as much that when it's too cold, the clean teams don't work.
Right.
And during the months that they are not out in the street, they're usually the cold months. We even see some discussion about even in December or even in March when it's cold, are they out in the street? When we talk about the numbers of folks that have participated in Live Near Your Work, we have 181 employees since the program's inception, and we've had 11 settlements this year. 2 additional employees are anticipate going to settlement before July 1st. When we talk about our down payment and settlement assistance, right now we've put 183 closings to date this calendar year, and the average assistance there is $12,389, and 7 city employees have taken advantage of that program too. When we talk about the non-federal funds, I've kind of outlined those as far as what the activities are for E on question 8.
So let's see here, we have the last letter for specify how non-federal activity funds are administered.
Yes. It's kind of a laundry list of fees that are not covered by our federal grants. So when we talk about that's taking care of property that we would normally take care of ourselves as the city, when we dispose of those, when we are testing those, when we need outside legal counsel. Believe it or not, there are a number of properties that don't have parcel numbers in the city still. And when you want to get rid of one of those properties, we have one over in the Northeast that we're going to have to go to Chancery Court because we know we own it, but we can't prove it to dispose of it to somebody. So it's those kind of outside legal fees. They can amount to quite a few dollars.
Okay. All right, we're going to move on to question number 9. Can you please discuss any mechanisms in place to ensure that the administrative costs overruns from the CDBG administrative caps as it pertains to staffing with, that will not create cost overruns to be charged to the general fund?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So when we administer the federal grant, the Real Estate and Housing Department staff needs to assign their time in half-an-hour intervals to the funding source that they're working on. That was something that we need to get better at, and we did. When we talk about that, the mechanism that's in place is that we have a software program that we have monthly reconciliations on. We know what our caps are, and we have really improved in that area as far as a good job to the real estate and housing staff in getting that done. When we talk about the A on this particular question, it's about the reallocation of the home partnership program. There's some discrepancy there in as much that the 623 was the actual budgeted amount, of which we've spent $61,708 to date on. So that, we need to make sure that the Finance Department is posting that correctly for us, because we are unique as far as this grant. If we don't spend this year's money, it doesn't get wiped as the general fund does. We still have that money to spend. And I know sometimes that's in bookkeeping, we're trying to get better there. But sometimes in the bookkeeping of it can be confusing. And this is one of those cases that we have not gone over that budget and we have not exceeded our admin.
So it rolls over.
Yes.
Okay. So is that all you have to say about letter A?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So we are going to wrap it up with question number 10 regarding discussing the planned use of $160,000 budgeted for consultants, regarding $70,000 for general funds, $85,000 for CDBG homes, and specify the vendor names and if there are any DBEs.
Yes, as far as currently, we only have 2 vendors that we're using, the Jeter and Company LLC, which is a DBE, and Monaghan and Lonigan Associates, which is our HUD consultants. Jeter and Company, they do our one roof, and they do some miscellaneous as far as accounting to keep us out of trouble with HUD. M&L does the bulwark of that. As a for instance, there is a requirement that we need to spend our grant so that we have no more than 1.5% of our grant on any given time test. Not only has M&L helped us that, but the Real Estate and Housing Department staff has really done a great job, and we are in compliance now, and we hadn't been for a couple of years. So when we talk about our consultants, I believe they are doing their job and keeping us out of liability.
Okay. I have a question there, but I'll wait until we open the floor. All right, so we are coming to the very last question, which is, can you please provide your FY 2027 proposed organizational chart with the total number of employees in all categories? And you can also answer if there are any multiple divisions. Please ensure if there are any sub-org charts and any photos. So, see it up on the screen.
There you go.
You can speak to it.
There's one good-looking guy up there. I see. I don't get any pictures from anybody else. But as far as what we've basically done is that we've broken into 2 major divisions. One is grants and rehabilitation. The other is compliance and development. So we've moved our funding sources into our divisions. At that point, we do have an ARPA-funded construction manager, which is very helpful when we talk about eyes on the streets. And we have an admin too, and that position basically has moved into a major assistance in our down payment settlement assistance program. versus the previous position was answering the phone and answering the door. And we know that that has changed as far as that demand is much different. And we've changed job description so that our admin too is really helping us with the production of homeownership activities rather than just being an admin that waits for things to happen. She's very proactive.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Hayford, Director Weir, for the overview and giving us the answers that we presented to your department. So at this time, we're going to turn it over to the council members to see if they have any questions. Okay. Any on
Yeah,
the?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I have a question.
Yes, Mr. President. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Earlier, it was stated that it is a goal to have more affordable housing. Is there a number attached to that goal? What's that goal look like to you all, to you?
The goal for the neighborhood stabilization is over 200 units, and we are looking at probably close to 300 units when we talk about a cycle out of the federal funds. Historically, we had, over an 8-year period, produced just short of 2,000 units, and I think that over the same period of time, we can do the exact same thing.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome, Mr. President. Any other council members? Councilmember Willard?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Director Weir. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Director Weir, for all the work you do with the Department of Real Estate and Housing and your excellent team. And I did have a couple of questions. I have a lot of concerns about the 20 million. And just to start off with a question, what's the definition for small developers and large developers? Are those based on project size, or are they based on like the size of the firm? Like the firm is a small developer, or the project is a small? So could you have like a big firm developing a small project, and that's how you define a small project?
Now, it's project size, so it's on a unit size. So we're talking about, and I've had people ask me, I said, it's less than 10. So they said, does that mean it's 9? It's like, well, yeah, it means it's 9, it's less than 10. So if it's 9 units or below, we're looking at it as a small development, and if it's over that 9 number, we're looking at it as a large, but not as to the financial capacity or, the financial conditions of the developer themselves.
And is there, a follow-up, Madam Chair?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Is there a division in this proposed program between what would be like the total amount, let's say 16 million is given to developers? Do you have a plan for how much you think will be given to developers of large projects versus developers of small projects?
That's a great question. As far as we know that we have most likely all small developers for our lot program. So when we talk about that particular piece, we know that we're talking about, hopefully 100 lots out of 100 units out of those lots, because some of those will be duplexes and things like that. When we talk about the larger ones, there's a lot of folks that are very interested and I've talked to, but there's been no proposals. As I mentioned earlier, I think that what we're going to see with the large developers is that we're going to see nonprofits who are looking to leverage low-income tax credits, other federal earmarks, things like that. And we're going to look to larger developers that might want to just achieve some income diversity in their projects. So I don't see a large developer coming in, like say for instance, there's some office buildings right now that are in play that there's folks that are interested in turning them residential. Well, when I talk to them about affordability, they're interested in affordability and having a income diversity, but they're not interested in 100% affordable development. So I'm feeling that's where we're going to start seeing them separate out, that the larger projects will say, yes, we want to have some affordability, and income diversity, and we're going to set aside, 10, 20 units per building, if that's what it is, versus the folks that are going to be coming to us and saying, we want to have a duplex, or we're going to sell a house and we want to sell it to someone that's making 50% AMI. We're going to have to say, okay, how's this penciling out so that we can actually get this done? So that'll be the slide of the subsidy too.
I just had one follow-up,
One,
Chair.
okay.
I mean, a couple follow-ups, but one, so, it's 16 million. Do you anticipate that like 10 million will be for large developers and 6 million will be for small developers? Or do you anticipate it's going to be 15 million for large developers and 1 million for small developers? Like, do you have any idea, like, what the breakdown might be?
I have guesses, but I don't have any reason to say, here's a hard number, what we can expect.
Okay, thank you very much.
I have Councilmember Darby on the line, and then Vice Chair Bracy.
Yes, thank you. I also have a few questions in regards to the large developers versus small developers. So it looks like large developers will be getting incentives. So it says fee waivers, third-party inspections, and plan reviews. But the only incentive I saw listed for small developers is that units that are for sale, you're capping the development fee. Will there be other incentives planned for the smaller developers, or most of them just for larger developers?
Councilmember, I think that we are looking at equal incentives. When we talk about, say, for instance, the cost of sewer and water into a single lot could be $25,000 to $30,000 versus when we talk about sewer and water into a larger development, it might not be exponentially increased. So, it might be 60,000 or 80,000. So, when you talk about some of these desired outcomes, we want to make sure that the money that's being spent is creating affordable, and affordable not just at 80% or not just affordable at 120%. We want to look at the 30% to 50% to 60% of area median income and see if we can put together the right incentives, the right subsidies, the right conditions that we can actually create those. Because right now, at that lower level, the only real tools we have are low-income tax credits or some other, federally funded programming. We're trying to see if we might be able to supplement the federal dollars with some local dollars to create more units.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, I can follow up.
Yes.
So are you saying that the incentives listed for larger developers is going to be updated so that smaller developers get the same type of incentives with fee waivers, the third-party inspections, and plan reviews?
Yes.
Oh, okay, so that will be updated. I have another question.
Go ahead, Councilmember Darby.
Yeah, what is the total number of rental units that are expected to be developed under this plan? And then the second part of that is, how long would they be affordable?
Well, when we talk about the number, we don't have an allocation right this very second, and part of the concept is that we say that we are looking for applications, we're looking for folks that are willing and able. Do you have a plan, and can you affect the plan in our city? So right now, we don't have allocations projected for rental or for home ownership. And when we talk about, sorry, council member.
Yes.
How long the affordability will be? I think that the affordability will be based on the amount of subsidy dollars that are injected into the project.
Length of time for the affordability.
I'm sorry?
The length of time for the affordability will be directly connected to the amount of dollars that are put into the project.
Okay, may I follow up?
Okay, I want to be consistent with the two questions and the two follow-ups. I will come right back to you, Councilmember Darby. Vice Chair Bracy.
Thank you. So I have two questions. Well, actually I have more, but I'm going to piggyback off of Councilwoman Darby's. question, since she couldn't follow up right away. For the length of time, I think that it's going to be very important that we do more than just say it's based on the amount, and that we specify that, similar to other tax requirements where there's a minimum of 10 years or a minimum of 15, whatever we want to specify. And it could be based on, if you want to say, a sliding scale. So if you're doing 20 units or more, then these 20 units must remain affordable at, for 10
Yes.
years or whatever the case may be. But I do think that it's important that we clarify and that it's not vague, so that if this budget is approved and we approve this, that is very, very clear, and there's no like gray area around what is what. And so that would be, my first, more of a comment as a follow-up to the conversation that we were just having, is really making sure that it's spelled out extremely clearly, and that there's a level of responsibility that the developer, small and large, understand that this incentive comes with specific stipulations. So that would be my comment. And then my question is, I just want to make sure that it's on the record, that is very clear. Larger developers cannot use any of the funds that we're going to give them for anything other than affordable, correct?
That's my understanding of it, yes.
No, that is absolutely correct.
Okay, thank you. And I'll do a second round.
Go ahead. Vice Chair, you have a second question?
Oh, no, I'll yield to.
Okay, Councilmember Owens.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I have a few questions, but I'll start with this one. So, I want to talk a little bit about how the accountability portion of this would work. One of the things we know, over the last 5 years, we've given, $13 million to the land bank, and then some of those properties that were meant to be affordable, we know was not used for affordable home ownership opportunities. Prime example is right in my district on the 3400 block of Market Street, where those houses are still being sold well over the affordable rate for the community. When instances like that happen, especially with larger developments, and we are giving them money, what accountability mechanism will be put in place so that we can recoup our dollars if they're not being used for what they are intended for?
Well, the simplest way is that you put a lien and mortgage on the property. I mean, it's a recorded document, and both parties agree to the terms of the document.
Isn't that what we do with the land bank already? So we just give them money?
I'm sorry, as far as the land bank, the term affordability can be used as a general term, and then it could be used as a very specific term to either say that it's affordable to 100% of area median income, 80%, as I mentioned. So the idea that if you say it's affordable, is it affordable for someone to buy in that neighborhood? Generally, the appraisal and the quality and position of the property, so forth and so on, that is relative to where it's built. So, say for instance, out on Market Street, that sale price is based on the appraisal of that property, given the rest of the properties around it. Versus if we're talking about there is a restriction, an income restriction on whoever's going to buy or rent this property, then that is a hard line that says if you make one more dollar, then if you're say for instance, I'm using the example of 30%. If someone's making $25,000, 100 a year, and that is 30% AMI, you say we're renting to only 30% AMI. If that has to be looked at on a regular basis, and then if you're not compliant, then there has to be some remedy to it.
Madam Chair.
Follow up.
I think that's my question. Like, what would our remedy be when that's not happening? We've seen this done already in the city when we've given city dollars to projects like this, and nothing seems to happen. And actually, we're giving them even more money this year. It's an issue that I've been dealing with since I've been on council. It's an issue that numerous people have complained about, and we've had the land bank come and speak to this, and they've admitted that yes, they changed their mind. They wasn't going to make it affordable. And they got away scot-free. I don't think that's fair to the taxpayers who this tax stabilization fund money is coming from, right? From people who overpaid. So we should have some type of mechanism in place to make sure that we're recouping on, if it's for certain units that aren't going to be affordable for the time period that they said they were going to be affordable, how do we recoup that money that went into it?
Well, I don't think the goal of recouping the money, the goal is to provide housing for the folks that you have set in income basis for. So when you talk about what we've learned is that we learned through, like, say, for instance, the federal funds. Nobody gets federal funds unless they have a mortgage and a note on their property that says they're going to do what they say they're going to do. And it's affordable, and, it does not serve anyone that's over 80% median family income. So it's the same model that we're going to use for this particular tranche of funds, that, hey, we define what affordable is, and then whoever's building that is agreeing to it, and there's a lien and mortgage on the property. Now, when someone doesn't do it, it becomes now a legal battle, and as far as there's all kinds of ifs and thens to it. But as far as doing as much prep work as you can and having the legal document in place and having that definition of affordability, I think that's what you're seeing different out of this particular initiative, is that the administration is not saying affordable is a concept, they're saying affordability is a number. And that's what the developer is going to agree to as we get involved with them.
Thank you. I'm going to go back to Councilmember Darby, then Vice Chair Bracy, and then Councilmember Oliver, and then Councilmember Willard. Councilmember Darby?
Yes. So I'm just going to go to my third question that I had before I go back to my other question. So what is the city going to do to claw back the $3 million in taxpayer funds? When we talk about, like, the land bank and accountability, like, why hasn't that happened, like, specifically? Like, how do we know that's going to happen when we approve this budget for you guys to give money to developers? How do we know that you guys are going to hold them accountable? Like, are you going to put it in writing? Is it going to be a part of the contract? Like, what are you going to do differently? Like, I still haven't heard that.
Councilmember, I was just talking through that there has to be a mortgage and a note, and there has to be a definition of the income that is allowable to either rent or to buy the property. And that is very, very similar to what we do with the federal funds. So my recommendation would be that these funds would be secured by a mortgage and note on the properties with the developers, and that would give the city legal standing if it's not being done.
Okay, and then what are some of the potential projects underway that plan to take advantage of this program? Are there any, like, existing programs?
Existing programs or projects?
Or existing projects, sorry.
Projects, yeah. Off the top of my head, I can mention there's a few that are in planning that are looking for additional funding, but they would all have to be affordable. And affordable, as defined by 80%, is the max allowed area median income number that would be supported.
All right, no, thank you. $60 million is a lot of money, and I still don't quite know the return on investment. Like, we still don't have numbers, because I asked earlier about how many affordable housing total number of rental units are we expecting, and then I was going to ask what are the total number of affordable homeownership units expected, and you can't give that number, and then you're asking for me to make a vote on this to approve it with no guarantee and no return. There's no, like, I just don't understand. What is the return on investment? If I say yes to this, what are we going to get out of this? Other than just thoughts and ideas.
Councilmember, I mentioned earlier that we were anticipating 200 units out of the 16 million that was going to...
200 over 5 years? That's it?
Well, when
100,000 per each, and that's...
Yeah, that's 84,000 per each. But, again, when you were talking about, this is a little bit different approach that we're using, that we are looking at that 30% area median income as a market that we are looking to support. And when you were talking about that 30% area median income, you're going to have to support that financially in a much bigger way than you would if you're saying, for instance, 80%, or you're just saying it's affordable. So I think the lesson learned is that we need to define affordability. We need to hold everybody accountable that is getting involved in providing housing and underneath that definition of affordability. So I'm on the same page. The idea that I cannot at this point say I have 7 projects that are all lined up to spend that money. Sadly, $16 million is not that much money. You know, when you talk about, at the end of the day, when you're talking about affordable housing, you can look at any of the projects that are functioning at a high level in the city right now that are supporting true affordable rental or true affordable. Their subsidy numbers are very big.
I mean, we did 30 million for
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Vice Chair Bracy.
Thank you. I just had, it's more of a comment, maybe a suggestion, as we dig into this a little bit deeper. You hit the nail right on the head, Director. We need to clearly define affordability, and I know we have the 30% to 80% AMI listed as kind of what the numbers are, but I think we need to dig a little bit deeper, because what if all of the developers come in with projects that are at 80%? Then we're still not addressing the lowest income population. We're not addressing the people that really need the help, because what's affordable to me is not what's affordable to somebody else. And so I do think that we need to look at how we carve out or specify, okay, you know, if we've got 16 million, then there's 20% that's going to go to whatever the number is. I don't know what those numbers are, but I do think it's worth us having some more discussions about how we break that down so that there's a little bit of equity in how we, you know, saying large developer, small developer, 10 units versus more than 10, that's a good start. But I do think that digging a little deeper, because even if a large developer decides to do a mixed income and they're going to do, let's say, 25 out of 100 of their units are affordable, that's great. But affordable to who? And I think that's where we need to make sure that we are defining that in a way that we do end up with a good return on investment. Because I think this is a great start, but I do think we need to dig a little deeper into making sure that we have the details defined, because we always come up with these great ideas and then we get halfway through and we realize we made a mistake. So I think if we can dig a little bit deeper into like clearly defining what's affordable and how much of this 16 is going to who, as it relates to the different projects, I think that could help it be a little bit more palatable for everyone. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Oliver.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. Director, I'm going to number 4 and question 8. Number A, when we're looking at Lawrence Consulting Group, LLC, is that Mr. Lawrence on the east side? With that, I mean, for the street cleaning? I'm speaking right now about the street team.
Clean team, yes.
I'm wondering why their amount is only $41,000.
Lawrence Consulting Group is actually the city's manager for the project. So Lawrence Consulting Group is out every day making sure that they are on the street, that they have their supplies, that they are looking for the he is driving around as an individual and identifying hot spots and that need additional attention.
Got you. Follow up.
Yes.
So I see so when we're talking about West Center City, Hilltop, Little Italy, you just put all of it together. That would be the group who is handling the funding up there, Temple. They're to go through. So for the east side, seeing this is also the 9th Ward area. So that kind of breaks it down. Okay, I just had that one question. And then I just wanted to make a statement. On the 16 million, that was just a number that is out there. It's up to City Council with this budget to have a conversation and see where we're going with the 16 million. So I don't want people to think it may be a final and it may not, but this is why this is the budget, so we can have this discussion.
Great. Director Weir, what is the process for these developers to apply for the dollars, and have they started applying?
Well, no, they have not started applying, and it will be based on a application.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
It'll be based on
It was a
an
conversation.
application. And they have not been, they've been asking questions about it, but they have not, there's no application process at this particular time.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Madam Chair.
Councilmember Oliver.
Thank you. I wanted to say, I just want to make it clear, I was upstairs for the meeting for the east side, for the Barron's hearing, so thank you for excusing
Oh,
me.
you're welcome.
Thank you.
Councilmember Owens, did you have your hand up?
Yes.
Okay, then Councilmember Willard.
So I just have a few questions because I see the presentation on here, and the grant structure ranges from 25,000 to 60,000 for the small developers. Wouldn't it be better to offer more per unit for smaller developers because they're going to have more? They have more of a financial barrier to actually be able to provide this type of housing.
I think there has to be taken on a case-by-case basis. When you talk about, say, for instance, if we are going to provide them with no-cost land, with sewer and water that's already improved a lot, that there is a fast track on a pre-approved building design, the gaps will be the same gaps, whether they're large or small. And as far as what we're looking to do is with the smaller contractors and developers, to take some of that burden off of them so that they can move to what they do best. One of the lessons that we've learned is that there are certain contractors and developers that they have a very tight lane that they perform high level in. And when they get out of that, it's not always successful for them or for the city. So, when you talk about the program design, it's taken in mind what we learned over the last couple of years with the ARPA funds.
And just a point of clarity.
Yes.
A point of information, I don't know which one really, about how many units of affordable units does the city of Wilmington need? How many are we short?
There's all kinds of numbers out there, but there's been as high as 24,000, and over what time frame? So when you talk about need, it's very hard to say in a simple answer. Boom, that's the number, because you don't know where the population's growing, you don't know what is happening with family formation, you don't know what's happening with jobs, so forth and so on. So.
Thank you for that. And I asked that question because right now in the city of Wilmington, our jobs are stagnant when it comes to our pay ranges for a lot of people. And a lot of people are being priced out of the city of Wilmington. Right now, literally a house just went up for rent, no renovations, hasn't been renovated in years in my district for $2,900 a month, right? That is pricing people out of the neighborhood. And our wages do not match that. And I know that's not something that your office controls or this city council controls. But we do have to look at the, I wish. I think we have to look at the reality of so many residents here in the city of Wilmington, is that they are being priced out, right? Rent is skyrocketing time and time again. So when we look at projects like this, that is going to take a huge chunk of money, one, there has to be safeguards with it, but two, also, how do we really maximize the amount of money that we're putting in to make sure that we're truly helping the residents that currently live here? And I think I agree with Councilwoman Bracy. I think we need to talk about this a little bit more in depth about how are we breaking this down, how are we defining this, and honestly, a 5-year affordability period, that is not it needs to be 15 minimum. I wish it could be 30 or 40, but 15 minimum to help with some type of stabilization for our residents who currently live here. We're not talking about recruitment of residents from Philly, Jersey. I'm talking about Wilmington residents who pay their taxes right here. And yeah, they may not have the best wages, but they're still residents of the city, and we still have a responsibility to them. So again, I think we just need to talk a little bit more about this. And I have a huge hang up over just a 5-year affordability period. That's going to be going into incidents.
Okay. Councilmember Willard?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit more about that. And, we were talking about, I think what a lot of us, what I hear a lot of other council members talking about is just how, just more definition to this concept. It seems like a kind of a general concept, but there's not a lot of definition to it. So some of the things I'm interested in is, what Councilwoman Bracy was talking about defining how many units at the different levels of affordability, like how many units at 30%, how many units at 80%. And then also, just following up on what Councilman Owens was talking about, it sounds like for the small developers, and I really want to know, what portion of the program is small developers, what portion of the program is large developers. But for the small developers with the grant structure from 25 to 60,000 per unit, but then we're going to have an average of 84,000 per unit for the large developers. And you say there might be a range for how long the subsidy would be for the amount. Like, could you give me an example of how long the subsidy, how long the affordability period would be for each level of subsidy? Like if you get 80,000, the affordability period is 30 years, or if you get 20,000, the affordability is 5 years? Like, is there, do you have that worked out?
I think the honest answer is no. As far as when we talk about the affordability period and we talk about the sliding subsidy, of course, we're going to look at what works for other funding sources. So say, for instance, if you're looking at a low-income tax credit, I know that oftentimes we piggyback with our federal funds onto those programs, and they have the assigned affordability already baked into it. So, when we talk about the additional discussion of all these points, I didn't think we were there anyway. So as far as, that this is part of the discussion going forward, I think that we need to be cautious in as much that when you start setting that we're setting these numbers out, what I didn't want to do is come to council and say, here's the numbers, and then later on come back and be like, oh, we didn't make those numbers. So as far as my professional and personal read on this is that, yes, we're going to have to keep on talking about this, and we're going to get to the point where we're happiest we can be. And we also don't know who is out. There's people that walk into my office all the time and say, yeah, I'm going to buy this building, and I want to do this, I want to do that with it. I never knew about it before they walked into the building. So, once this is announced and once this is made public, there are going to be all sorts of people that are going to be asking questions about it, and we need to be ready. So I'm totally on board with that as far as having guidelines so that it's clear, because that's what business people need. They need clear rules and regs so that it's not floating back and forth. Oh, I thought this meant this. I thought this meant the other thing. No, you got to say, here's what we're asking for. And then you have to be nimble enough to reevaluate it because it might not work out the way that you originally thought it to be. So I know there was a comment made earlier about, we try to do something and it doesn't work out. Sometimes that happens. And especially when you're talking about a marketplace like Wilmington, in as much that we don't have big swaths of land. We don't have big buildings that are vacant and not used for numbers of years. I mean, we're looking at a lot of times poorly functioning properties or poorly functioning buildings, and how are they going to be changed? So that oftentimes does not give you a good big lead time on it to say, oh, we know this is going to happen. These deals happen quickly, and I think we just need to be as clever as we can to make sure that it works the way we want it to work.
And Madam Chair, I had one follow-up.
Councilmember Willard?
So, I guess my final question is, and I do agree with my colleagues, like it seems like this idea is not done yet. So I have a lot of concerns about I think when we're talking about taxpayer dollars, we have to have of course the developers are going to come with their ideas, but we, City of Wilmington, we have to have an idea of what is our goal with this money? What do we want to achieve? And then, they can decide whether or not they want to help achieve that. But we have to make that really clear, from the get-go. But my last question is the upstairs fund was funded through a bond offering? It was a little bit like this, giving money to developers to create housing. And I think that upstairs fund was funded through a bond offering in 2011 with 12 million, and then again in 2020 with 1 million. Is there any reason why this program couldn't also be funded with a bond offering? Because my concern is the tax stabilization fund is, meant to like cover gaps in the budget that happen when when our expenses are going up more than our revenue, which is the situation we're facing right now.
Madam Chair.
Ms. Mergler.
So for one, if we were to fund it through the upstairs fund, something like the upstairs fund in the capital budget, that would require our taxpayers to pay interest on it. So essentially, we would be asking our residents to pay on some level for it. And it just adds more money to the general fund budget. In this case, we're making this transfer because we can. We still have $75 million left in the reserve. It is 35% of, it meets that 35, it's well above the 25% requirement that we need for the bond rating. It's at 35%. We still have several years worth of tax stabilization that we can provide. I will caution against an over-reliance on the tax stabilization fund. If you continually make up gaps in the budget using the tax stabilization reserve, what happens is, over time, you completely deplete the fund, but you have never actually made up your revenue gap. So once you have to make up that gap, that's when you have to do a massive tax increase on your residents, and that's not fair. That's not fair to those residents, say, 10 years from now. So we have plenty of money to put into this tax stabilization, if we need to, like this year. We have plenty of money to do a $1.7 million. We would have plenty of money to do that for several years. And we will continue to grow the tax stabilization reserve. There will continue to be money in the tax stabilization reserve. But you definitely don't want to do it every time. Because then, again, you will put a significant burden on your residents later on.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Oliver.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did want to make a statement. I see, we're talking about the developers and contractors, but I think we do have individuals here who currently are working on housing projects, and I think it's important that we should be acknowledging them also. And they have been working with the City of Residents constituents for years. For example, we're talking about Brother Ron. It's funny. I just called him today, Miss Priscilla, and wished her a happy anniversary. And I saw in the paper that they've been in business for 49 years, and next year will be their 50th. And no one's even saying, let's give him a couple dollars. He has a shovel in the ground on Market Street, building senior homes for city residents. This is what we're talking about. So why not give Brother Ron a couple dollars to finish or work on his project? Like I said, today's 49 years in the city of Wilmington. We're talking about housing. Nobody's even mentioning the man's name. Ms. Priscilla, we just given her a letter to go down to the bond bill. If we have this kind of money, throw him a bone. We're talking about Paul over West End. He has a project over there also looking out for our seniors. As Councilman Cobion stated, we need to be looking out for our residents. I mean, without our residents, there won't be no Wilmington. We talking about the big contractors bringing in people. I have no problem with that. I mean, it's going to bring us some wages, but let's take care of our own Wilmingtonians. Paul's over there. He's been doing very good with his homes over there. He has a project going on for seniors. Let's throw him a bone. Nobody's even mentioning him. So why aren't we, with this kind of money that we're talking about, because nothing's in stone, why aren't we even mentioning them? Why do they have to apply and line up behind everybody else or possibly get chosen when they've been here for all these years and we're not even looking out for our own people who's been looking out for us? So I just want to make that statement that, them type of names should be at the table. I mean, they shouldn't have to go through this whole process and maybe Brother Ron might get something, maybe Paul. I mean, they already have housing projects going on, and that's what we want to do, keep Wilmingtonians here, and they're dealing with Wilmingtonians. I think their names should be automatically on the list to tell them to come in. They should be qualified. I mean, so I'm going to throw that out there because we have all these these contractors coming in from all over, these big-time contractors, because we don't have many contractors can do 100 houses here or 200. So we're talking about bringing in some of these contractors from out of state, and they're going to build all these homes, allegedly. And we have people right here who's building some homes for seniors who, sweat and tears and been taxpayers for years, and we're not even talking about including them. So I think it's unfair that we're not even mentioning them type of names. Thank you. Director Weir?
All I can say is that I spoke with Brother Ronald today, and I'm going to speak with him next Monday, so.
Okay, good.
He doesn't let any stone unturned. But I think that when we talk about the large nonprofit developers that have projects already in the works or, need additional assistance, they've got to go to the top of the list.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, where are we? President Congo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just based on the number of questions that have come from council so far, I'm assuming that there will be a lot more from the community. I think it might be advantageous to everyone if we plan a committee meeting or maybe a committee of the whole meeting to really answer some of the questions that need to be followed up on and really just get a better understanding of especially the $16 million. So that's just a suggestion. Thank you.
You're welcome. President Congo, there was conversation that was shared earlier that there is going to be a follow-up meeting to discuss housing. We had shared that early on when the conversation first came up about the $16 million and where those dollars are going to go. It was agreed that we would have a follow-up conversation. So that's in the making. And thanks for the comment. And I also want to say, Director Weir, earlier when I asked the question, had any of the developers submitted applications, it should have been showed interest, because I realized that we have to pass the budget first. So showed interest is what I really, wanted to know. Because again, listening at the comments and the feedback, have there been any nonprofits? Have there been any of the bigger developers shown any interest thus far?
The simple answer is yes. As far as anyone that has called my office and I've spoken to them about any kind of market rate, I said that this is an affordable initiative. It's not a market rate subsidy. So I think that's very clear out of my office that, as was mentioned earlier, that this will be 80% and below area median income benefit. When we talk about the nonprofits, I have a little bit different relationship with those folks, generally speaking, because we have either seen applications from them for federal funds or we've talked that through. So, I know that there's some projects that are still unfunded, but at the same time, interest and reviewing of their financials and actually the accountability of who they're going to be selling or renting to, there are all the details that have to be covered once the budget is clear.
Okay, thank you. I needed to rephrase my question. Okay, Ms. Bass-Knight has a question on behalf of Councilmember Spadola.
Yes, and this is more so for Deputy Chief of Staff Mergler. Councilman Spadola is just inquiring, is there any reason why the administration couldn't do separate budget amendments, pulling funds from the tax stabilization reserve that will allow council the opportunity to diligently review each allocation and housing initiative, as opposed to council voting on the $20 million all at once, which gives council little recourse after the budget has passed, or if it passed.
Ms. Mergler?
Well, I guess what the question is essentially allowing council to vote on the $20 million separately from the overall budget. It's something we can certainly talk about. I know it is customary for us to put the neighborhood stabilization funds in the overall operating budget. We have not done them separately, unless it's a one-time transfer like we did for the bridge. But it's something we can certainly discuss as part of our overall negotiations with council.
Thank you. I'll follow up, Ms. Bass-Knight.
Yeah, and just one other question, and it just before the budget follow-up, And it's just more so for question 9A regarding the 623,000. Just if we can just, at some point for follow-up, just to revisit page 49 of the ACFR, because it shows the funding expenditures over budget. If something is wrong from accounting perspective, then I respect it. I just wasn't for sure, because I was just going by the ACFR. Thank you.
Is that a comment or a question?
That'd be more of a follow-up that I'll send to the administration team for follow-up.
All right, thanks.
And we'll be happy to look into it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, council members, real quick, another round before I go to the public. Any other questions? Okay, so we have Councilmember Willard.
Yeah, this is more of a comment, but, the city of Wilmington has all this cash, and we earn interest on that cash. I think we earned $9 million like a couple years ago. So, if we borrow money, we have to pay interest, but if we have the money, if we keep the money in our tax stabilization fund, we earn. So I think that the comparison of like, oh, we don't want to pay interest, I guess I don't totally understand that. And I would like to ask the administration to give council a better idea of how you might fund construction activities with through a bond offering, as opposed to through drawing down all that money from the tax stabilization fund.
Okay. Ms. Mergler?
I will add that the other problem with using the capital funds is we are limited to a certain amount that we can borrow in each issuance. It's typically about $25 million. So to do a large, as we were discussing earlier, 16 million is a lot of money, but in affordable housing terms, it doesn't go very far because of the amount of subsidy that's necessary in order to make a home affordable. So if you supplanted $16 million from our overall general fund budget, you would have to make some hard decisions about what you were not going to fund in the capital budget that year. For example, some of the things that we fund from the general fund capital budget are street paving, sidewalk improvements, park improvements, general building improvements, which are actually relatively small in comparison to the overall. So we would have to kind of make some hard decisions about what that looks like. At the same time, the actual construction time would be bumped out a bit, since we only do a capital budget every other year, and then we only borrow the year after that. So the time frame would be significantly longer as well. So I hear that there is urgency around building. I hear that there is urgency around creating affordable units now. Using the capital funds would come with a higher price tag at a longer time frame and come at the expense of certain other things, other necessary improvements that we make from the capital budget.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Mergler. Okay, at this time, we're Councilmember Owens.
Yes. Just following up on the statement you just made about the city's bond and capital budget. Have we had any conversations with the state about the state putting money from their bond bill so the city's bond asked to the state to help fund this project to bring to cost, even kind of bring down the cost that we're taking out from our tax stabilization fund, and kind of do like a match with them?
Sure. So we actually requested $5 million from the state in FY2026, which we were awarded. It was awarded to the land bank, but out of that amount, $2.9 million is controlled by the city. So we can certainly make that request again in FY27. We'll just have to see what their appetite is for funding it. I believe our request has actually already been made, but we can see if we can adjust it as necessary.
And just follow up.
Sure.
The only reason why I asked that is to bring that amount down so that we can use tax stabilization money for potentially something else. I know I've been very vocal about the funding of additional ambulance at Station 4 under the fire department and bringing on an additional 6 firefighters. I know that adds to the general fund.
Those would definitely be operating expenses, which is very different from what we would do as a one-time expense from the tax stabilization.
But Again, I just think, we can better coordinate with some of the other entities out there, especially the state who has a larger pot to work with than we do. And again, I think there's some other funding mechanisms that we can work with them to try to bring in more revenue for the city as well, too. So again, just working with them a little bit more.
Absolutely happy to coordinate that.
All right, thank you. All right, so we are getting ready to go to the public for public comments. We have a number of people that signed up that's in the chamber. So we're going to start with them first, those that signed up first, and then I will be going to those that are on the Zoom. I'm going to ask that you state your name, your district, and you have up to 3 minutes. So we're going to start with Dwight Davis. Mr. Davis, Dwight L. Davis.
Where do I go?
Say that again?
Where do I come?
To the podium, where you normally would come to make public comment.
Okay.
Okay. Take your time, sir.
Oliver Lee.
Just step. Bless you. Your name,
Okay.
your district, and you have up to 3 minutes.
Am I before the mic? Yes. Yes. My name is Brother Dwight L. Davis. I am the principal for the redevelopment of the project in West Center City by the Wickenpack organization. The Wickenpack organization has a structural agreement with the quasi-government organization of the city called the Urban Development Action Grant, UDAG. And we're here to ask for assistance from City Council and assistance from the Mayor's office to, number one, to give us the money that is owed to us through the agreement with UDAG, some $5 million. In addition to that, we are asking that and attempting to exhaust all of our administrative remedies. We have submitted the information to be placed in the record with Mr. Bob Weir and Madam Chair, with you as well, the talking points. And so I'm just here to say that we have settled on a African American female developer, Ms. Tanya Williamson, to head up our redevelopment project. But we've run into some obstacles that the city of Wilmington and City Council needs to get involved in helping us to address these issues. And so that's pretty much it. The information is hopefully on the record, and I'm prepared to answer any questions at the next meeting or if there's an additional meeting established to address these concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Cecilia Hobbs? Hobbs, okay.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, Madam Chair, council members, mayoral staff, and honored guests. I am pleased to be able to join you at your budget hearing for my city. I also want to thank the council members for their comments and concerns that they provided tonight. But the purpose of me coming up here is you may all be aware of the recent incident in which Ashley Christopher, special assistant to the mayor, sent out an email to poets, artists, comedians, and other performers at an open mic celebrating 250 years of the great state of Delaware. For those of you that are unaware of her email, I would like to quote what she said. She said in her email, and again, quote, "Thanks again for agreeing to showcase your talent in the upcoming Wilmington Open Mic Night. Please be advised that we ask each act to stay away from the subject matter around homelessness and the LGBTQ community. Feel free to express yourselves," unquote. Okay. Tonight, part of the discussion includes $20 million for housing, which Carney himself has not specified, for which Saron Cade has made gestures toward giving to a mom and pop developers, whatever that means. I guess Robert Vicini has kids and a wife. Does that make him a mom and pop developer, in addition to the shadow mayor? Well, these topics might have been blanket banned from the open mic night, but tonight you'll be hearing from many citizens of Wilmington about housing insecurity. You'll hear calls for permanent supportive housing, for shelter beds, and for other city-funded on-ramps to moving out of the tent and into a room, an apartment, or a house. We urge you to do the right thing. This is not a joke or a laughing matter. Maybe Carney and Ashley would like to trade the tents that we have, such as down Christina Park, for their house. Or maybe they would like to shadow me one day in the school nursing office so that they can see for themselves the effect of being unhoused these children have in the Wilmington school system. Being unhoused is a death sentence. This is a serious matter that should have been addressed many years ago.
2 seconds left.
Actually, that was the end. Thank you, Madam Chair. I am done.
You're welcome. Thank you. Is it Concord Brophy? Concord Brophy? And again, I'm going to ask that you state your name, your district, and that you have 3 minutes, up to 3 minutes. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Connor,
Connor? Okay.
and I live in Wilmington Manor, only a few minutes from Wilmington. And I spend the vast majority of my time in community with a lot of the most in need and vulnerable communities. Looking back over the last few years, we have seen the city of Wilmington be so scared of giving too much to the people in need and are vulnerable that we have seen just recently they've wasted tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars to make sure they give us too little to survive. Whether it's intentional or just incompetence from the mayor's office, the result is cruelty for its own sake. This city has proposed that they would rather give $16 million in kickbacks to developers than treat the residents that this city already has with an ounce of humanity. Even as our city has contracted Friendship House, who has a long history doing this work as steward of Christiana Park, the city has repeatedly broke that contract in order to coerce residents at the Christina Park into cramped quarters, made to sleep in faulty tents and on dangerous pallets while being threatened by arrest every step of the way if they don't give up the little belongings that they have in order to survive. Council members, I'd like you to take a moment, think about, do you think you could fit your entire life into a 15 by 15 box? I assume that's none of you. But do you think this should be a reason in order to destroy someone's life? I really hope it's not. And yes, before we try to deflect this to someone else's problems, such as the state or the mayor's office, this city council represents the city as much as the mayor's office. So you're just as responsible for the outcomes of those actions as well. You have power yourself to wield it. Do just that. Voting to pass this budget that does nothing for the crisis the city has created is not only irresponsible on your part, it also makes you complicit in all the harm and casualty we see every day. Again, giving these kickbacks for market housing that may be affordable for a very brief point of time will not solve our housing issues. We all know what this will do. It's just going to bring more white-collar jobs into the city, and it's going to push everyone who lives here already out. But listen, I'm an understanding person.
31 seconds.
I totally get it. If I were a council person and I only wanted to line my pockets with thousands of dollars from developers and push out my poorest constituents so I can maximize my individual donors, I would do the same thing. I would sign this bill as is. So thankfully, I'm not like that. I would rather help the residents that this city has failed the most. So I'm encouraging every council member here to not vote for this budget as it stands, and instead propose that y'all build more shelters and transitional housing and permanent supportive housing to sustain an emergency renters assistance fund, as well as to make the homeowners repair into a program instead of a lottery, as well as to create a housing trust to build permanent affordable housing. Thank you all for your time, and please do the right thing.
Thank you, Connor. Mr. Tyler Bell. Tyler Bell. Again, state your name and your district, and you have up to 3 minutes.
Good evening, Chair Harley, members of the administration, and members of the Finance and Economic Development Committee. My name is Tyler Burrell, and I serve as the Executive Director of the Delaware HIV Consortium. We are a statewide nonprofit that has partnered with the City of Wilmington since 1998 to administer the Delaware Housing Assistance Program, providing tenant-based rental assistance to people living with HIV. Today, that program supports 52 very low-income households each month, the vast majority here in the City of Wilmington. I want to be direct about both the value of this program and the risk that it is now facing. HOPWell funding has been the backbone of this work for decades. It's a strong federal program, and we are grateful for the city's stewardship of those funds. But at this point, the reality is straightforward. The current HOPWell allocation is no longer sufficient to sustain the program at the levels of need that already exist here in the city. We are not talking about expansion. We are talking about maintaining stability for people who are already enrolled in the program, already housed, and already relying on assistance to remain in their homes. Because of rising rents and fixed federal funding, the program is now facing a shortfall of $42,000 in the current fiscal year ending June 30th. As a result, 35 to 40 households out of the 52 that we serve are at risk of not receiving rental assistance in June and will be notified of so this week before the end of May, or before the start of May. For many of these households, that means one thing. They will face eviction. They may face eviction from their homes and homelessness within our city. That is not a hypothetical scenario. That is where we are at right now. And the consequences extend beyond housing. A 2026 evaluation by Christiana Care found that housing instability is the single strongest predictor of disengagement from HIV healthcare. Individuals who are stably housed are 3 times more likely to remain engaged in treatment than those who are not. So when housing assistance is disrupted, the impact is immediate. People fall out of care, health outcomes worsen, and the system incurs greater long-term costs. This is not just a housing issue, it is a public health issue, and it is a budget issue. The cost of preventing housing instability is significantly lower than the cost of responding to its consequences, whether through emergency services, healthcare utilization, or rehousing efforts. So the question before us is not whether the need exists. The question is, how should we be responding to this? For FY2027, we respectfully ask the city to consider establishing a local funding component using city resources to supplement the federal housing allocation and stabilize tenant-based rental assistance for people living with HIV already in the program. This does not require replacing federal funds. It requires recognizing that federal funding alone is no longer sufficient, and that a modest, targeted city investment can prevent far more significant downstream costs. The City of Wilmington has been a leader in this work for decades. This is an opportunity to continue that leadership by adapting to the current
3
realities.
seconds.
We are committed to partnering with the city and on responsible paths forwards, and we hope you'll address this issue now and into the future. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Tyler. And while Mr. Joseph Connor is coming, for those that need immediate assistance, you can reach out to DSHA, and Ms. Bass Knight can give you more information. So for those that need any type of housing assistance immediately, we have some contact information for you.
Good afternoon. My name's Joe Connor. I'm lucky enough to live in the 8th District, the City of Wilmington. I want to start with a suggestion, and then I'll get into some other things. The unhoused cannot get into housing unless they're given opportunities to have the funds necessary to get something as simple as a lease. So I'm going to propose just a simple idea that I have talked to some folks in the city about, and there seems to be some interest in it. I happen to be a landlord, and one of the barriers to folks being able to get a lease is cash up front to be able to lease a property. $2,000 a month was put forward a little earlier about as a kind of an average rent around town, and unfortunately, it's pretty accurate. If you take $2,000 and you double it with the security deposit, you add a few hundred for power deposits and other things that you have to do to move into a property, you're close to $5,000. A significant number of folks that are unhoused or underhoused don't have that money. A simple grant program for security deposit assistance would cut that number by 40, 45, 50, almost 50%. Simple program. It's the simple things that people need that do not have housing that we need to be talking about, not $20 million for whoever, the developers that are going to line their pockets here. We're not doing that. The reality is that I started in the business of working with the unhoused 16 years ago at 8th and West and 8th and Washington, and my office was in a homeless shelter. 16 years ago, it was one of several shelters in the city of Wilmington. It's gone. Every shelter that was up and down West Center City is gone. The pressure from the business community, I'm not going to name names, but it's one guy, was successful. The last one they put out of business 2 years ago was the Creative Vision Factory. We're left with Sam Church, Friendship, and a couple of other small places. And what does the guy say in testimony in front of the state last week? That Sam Church is the center of crime in the city of Wilmington. Bullcrap. It's not true, and it's not acceptable. No, it's not. It is not acceptable that not only are we not getting the services we need, we're being disrespected and treated like we're not even human. And I'm not having it. I'm not having it, and I don't think you are having it either. The reality is that I don't care if it's 16 million, 20 million, 40 million, however many million it is. Let's get the money where it belongs, down on the street, clean out Christiana Park, and let's do what we need to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Jean, I'm going to ask Jean to come at this time, please. Yes, Jean Messick. While Jean is coming, I just have a short announcement to make for those that are here for the law department. That particular budget hearing is going to be rescheduled for Wednesday. We were supposed to have 2 other meetings after this meeting, and due to the fact that we want to hear the public, we're going to put the law department budget hearing on Wednesday. So if you're here and you're here for that particular budget hearing, I just wanted to make that announcement. Thank you. Okay, Jean, your name, your district, and you have up to 3 minutes.
Madam Chairman, council members, thank you for hearing us out today. My name is Gene Messick, and I work with the unhoused in District 4. I'm here to speak in support of measures like permanent supportive housing, expanded access to low-barrier shelter, rental assistance, and a homeowner repair waiting list. You're probably sick of hearing from me, but I am tired of being told the city is in talks with the state to take on these measures. I'm sick of being told that there are resources in the state of Delaware where all the programs will tell you that they are out of money when you call. Where are these talks being held? What kind of solutions are you really working towards? The state of Delaware has its own issues. You can't just wait for them to swoop in and clean up the mess of conditions that you have created in this city. I spoke to new residents of the park that are being shipped in from Sunday Breakfast Mission, claiming the police are rolling up and encouraging people to move out of there and into the park. Now tell me, how does that make sense? I'll tell you how. Last year, Carney put together a task force on homelessness, including a few people that are directly responsible for just how dysfunctional our system is. He put Reverend Tom Lehman of Sunday Breakfast Mission on that task force, who responded with indignation when questioned at a task force meeting why Sunday Breakfast Mission evicts queer people, splits gay and lesbian couples, and forces trans people back out on the streets. He and Priscilla Rakestraw of the Ministry of Caring gleefully refused their services to unmarried couples and other people experiencing the absolute worst chapters of their lives in the name of hate. Sunday Breakfast Mission is the only emergency shelter available every day, same day in the city of Wilmington. Why then are they allowed to so boldly and loudly discriminate? These people have nowhere else to go. I've met people who were evicted from Sunday Breakfast Mission for asking for seconds at dinner meal, the only food they had access to that day. I've met a man they evicted after he asked for a way to elevate his swollen, pus-ridden leg when he just got out of the hospital. I pitched in to get a hotel room for a young man in crisis, a victim of domestic violence, who they evicted after his partner beat him on their property. I've met people who were banned after Tom Lehman called the cops on them for loitering because when they were shooed out with everyone else at 6 a.m., they decided dragging their belongings almost a mile uphill to the library wasn't worth it when they knew they just had to come back later that day. You let Claire DeMattis, former Commissioner of Correction, chair this task force and decide how your money should be spent. And she offered you the only thing she knows how to run, a prison. And now we have a prison camp in Christina Park. Regular people who call Wilmington home are being compared to criminals and outsiders, placed in cheap tents, squished together in little cells on rows while the city of Wilmington waits for them to die of starvation, dehydration, and exposure. It is getting worse. You have the power to create a better system that will finally not fail every single Wilmington resident. This $20 million Carney's asking y'all to pay out to developers is a sham. 200 low-cost units will not house the over 600 people experiencing homelessness in Wilmington in 2025. This entire year has been a disgrace. Fiscal year 2027 can be different if you come to your senses and stand up for the people you represent. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. Thank you. Thank you very much. At this time, we're going to have Mimi Siebalist.
Thank you.
Watch your step.
Hi, I'm Mimi. I live in District 1. I want to read some quotes from Councilmember Oliver, if that's okay, from the April 20th budget hearing and the WDEL article. You cannot make an outsider an insider. That's why when we go camping, I'm an outdoors person, you bring your tent and then you go home. An elected official who represents all residents just called our unhoused neighbors outsiders. She compared the housing crisis to a camping trip and told people without homes to go home. They don't have one. That's the whole point. And since she's talking about camping, Leah, let's keep going. When you go camping, you bring a decent tent. The city couldn't even provide those. They handed out $700 pallets that pool water because there's no drainage, no proper shelter, no adequate protection. They forced people to live in conditions they created, then complain it costs too much to maintain. Maybe y'all should have done it right the first time. And then you have the audacity to call bathrooms wasteful. Let's quote Miss Oliver again. This is ridiculous. Porta potties, rental cleaning, parks and recreation, the challenge program. You're giving them this kind of money to build stuff outside? Then what are we going to do? Ridiculous. Bathrooms and sanitation are ridiculous. If people are outside because the city failed them, then dignity is the minimum. Oh, let's not forget city staff. Once we manage to move or transition everyone out of the park, there are no other plans for a tent site. No other plans. You want people out. You call the services that keep them alive wasteful, and you can't provide adequate shelter. You have no plan for where they go. Clearing the park will not end homelessness. It just moves it. Tomorrow someone new will be there, and you will still have no plan. Meanwhile, this budget proposes $20 million as a one-time infusion, temporary money for a permanent crisis. This is not a resources problem. This is a priorities problem. If you can fund development, you can fund people. And then Ms. Oliver framed this as housing versus youth programs. Yeah, it's not. Youth programs are funded. No one is taking money from them. This is not either or. This is a political stunt to pit vulnerable communities against each other to avoid the real issues. You could have requested more money for those programs earlier, but you want to talk about it now because it makes you look good. Young people do need stability. They need rental assistance for the ones that are in families that are just one check away from being on the street. That's right. And they need affordable housing that doesn't disappear when the developer decides, when they've reached their 5-year limit there, that it's more profitable to gentrify. And speaking of functional housing, let's quote her one more time.
25 seconds.
Buy a building and put the people in a building. A building? I don't know, shelters, transitional public housing? We are up here fighting for that. This is what the people sleeping in the park want. So yeah, we agree. Are we done? Can we do that now? Can we get the building? Because they're still outside and you are all out of excuses.
6 seconds. Thank you, Mimi. Thank you. Thank you very much. At this time, we're going to call Say Butterball.
It's Butterball. Thank you.
Okay. Alrighty. Your name, your district, and up to 3 minutes, and watch your step, please.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Say, and I am here for the first time. In almost 5 decades, I've never had to have a public speech before. I am a mother, I am an educator, a veteran, and a military wife, and I am ashamed of what this city has done for the citizens that are currently in their city limits. They keep passing the ball back and forth to each other. I'm going to tell you something. When I was in active duty, they said, water. Are you tired? Drink water. You have a headache? Drink water. You're dizzy? Drink water. Guess what? The one thing these people do not have. Water. You have not even had the decency to have water accessible to these people. You are killing them. You might as well be pulling the trigger. A human is a human no matter what human we are talking about. You don't get to choose what human is worth more than the other one because they vote for you or they don't. You represent everyone together. If they have a beating heart, they deserve to be treated better than what you are treating them. You have them in what I consider a concentration camp, because if we had a pack of dogs that we had put in Christina Park without water and put them in a tent under the sun without any water or food, there would be outrage. And there is. I will make it my life's mission to make sure that every one of the 3,000 or so individuals that voted, for every council member that votes against this, to have these people decent living, will know what you are doing. When you go home tonight, make sure that you let her know, because apparently she's not interested in what we have to say. Our camp enthusiast who was apparently not consulted because the tents that they currently have were not sealed. They have no glue on the seams. They will eventually fail. What will you do then? Blame them? Say they didn't know how to treat the tents, so we have to throw them away. Yet you continue to spend money on things that are not they're senseless. If this is about money, then I'm going to tell you something. Every time we have to call EMS because one of them gets sick because you put them less than 6 feet apart, you're spending the taxpayers' money. That's right. Every time we have to call the police because we have a conflict because you squeeze them together in a space that is probably less than most of your bathrooms. Let's face that. We have conflict and we have to have them come over because you squeeze these people who are prone to sickness together and you give them no recourse. You close the river. You have no potable water. This is a shame. When you go home tonight, I want you to think about what your legacy will be. Because if you kill these people, you are pulling the trigger. And I promise you, my legacy to my children will be to teach them love and to teach them that every human has a right to live. But I will make it my life's mission to make sure that you do not deserve to sit up here ever again.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Ms. Lourdes Rivera. Lourdes?
Good evening. Good evening. Good evening, Councilman. My name is Lourdes Rivera, and I live in the 5th District. I'm here because I'm concerned about housing in our city. The mayor is proposing $60 million for developers, but we already see that the money is not helping regular people. Many of these buildings are very expensive. For example, apartment in the 900 North Market goes up to more than $1,600 to $3,000 a month. Most people cannot afford that. If you call that affordable? At the same time, affordable housing is being treated unfair. Before throwing more money, giving more money to developers, the city should require real affordable housing for a long time, more than 5 years, not just a few years. But also, we need to help the people right now. Many families struggling to pay rent. That's why the city should invest in renter assistance now. Renter assistance help people stay in their home, avoid eviction, and keep our community stable. Public money should help the people of Wilmington who live here with low income, family with disability, and seniors. Please, we demand housing justice for all. Now, we won't be silenced anymore. The rent is damn too high. Thank you, Lourdes Rivera.
Thank you, Lourdes. Okay, we're going to go to Brandon.
Good evening, council members, Chairwoman Harley, and members of the committee. I want to start by saying this clearly. We do need to invest in housing, but how we invest in housing matters. Right now, the mayor is proposing $20 million, and too much of that housing policy already prioritizes developers without guaranteeing permanently affordable housing for the people who live here. We've seen this before. Public dollars going to developers and working families still can't afford the rent in Wilmington. So the question is really simple. Who is this money for? Because if it's for the public, then it should be used in ways that directly stabilize people's lives. That means investing in eviction prevention programs and rental assistance so families don't lose their homes in the first place and so that small landlords can still keep up when their tenants can't afford the rent. It means building supportive housing so people experiencing homelessness have a real pathway inside of a home.
It means fixing the property tax reassessments that are pushing the long-term residents out, and it means creating a housing trust fund that guarantees permanently affordable housing, not temporary affordability that just is going to disappear in a few years. We can't keep subsidizing a system that produces displacement and then call it a solution. If we're serious about affordability, then this $20 million should go towards keeping people housed, not just building luxury units. Thank you, members of the committee, and I hope that you really take time to think about this budget before making a vote on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon. Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to go to Rich. I don't want to chop up your name. Priswar. Okay. Name, district, and up to 3 minutes. Thank you, sir.
Rich Priswar, President and CEO of Woodlawn Trustees and Todd Morden Foundation. Good to see you tonight, Councilmember.
You as well.
I work in District 7, 4, and 3, and I would like to urge Council tonight to vote for this. Todd Morden and Woodlawn have been building affordable housing units in Wilmington for over 100 years. Councilman Owens, your question about can the developers adhere to a limit of affordability? Absolutely. It's very normal for us to do a 10 or 15 year. I don't think that would be any burden if that was the desire of council to Mr. Weir. And I think I would look at Bob and go, of course we would do that. In the last year, Todd Morden built 25 new homes and renovated 6. All were sold or rented to people at the 80% AMI level or below. There is a way for the city and council to monitor that those numbers are met. The HUD guidelines are there every year. It's easy for you to evaluate whether or not are we renting at the HUD level or not. I think it can clearly be done. And I'm very glad that the department is focusing on just affordable, because I think what that says to the community is every unit that's going to be built is going to be built for someone who needs housing. And we're in a continuum right now where there's such compression. You're right, we need to deal with people that are unhoused. But the next level is, where do they go? I mean, Delaware has a documented need of 20,000 affordable housing units. Even if someone is ready, employed, has a car, and wants to live in a home, there isn't anywhere for them to go right now, because we do need to build more housing. That's a critical component. And I've spent the last couple of years working with lots of people who are putting more and more homes online. Our next project, for example, at the Flats, Phase 5, has 53 units for seniors only. We have 800 people that have called about getting one of those 53 units. If you don't think we need to build more units immediately, then you just don't understand what's happening with people that are working and people that are retired. A lot of them are seniors. Mr. Weir, we would be happy to come in and talk to you about our new project for 60 units that we're going to build. They're going to be for seniors, neurodivergent, and people with disabilities. Zero entry housing, because we've seen the need for that. And I think many of you council members have taken a tour of our units with me. And what we're building isn't luxury. It's safe, it's affordable, it's good quality, and it's something that anybody would be proud to live in. And I think one other question, Councilwoman, you asked about the 30 and 60 and 80%. Sometimes that's related to debt. The amount of debt I have to carry on a project means I might not be able to do 30% because I have to make debt payments. So what you're doing by providing money to do this development is critical, because it's allowing me to stack so that we don't have to pay debt service. So I really appreciate that. And I just want to say that I think that while there may be some loose ends on how this is going to work, part of it is you just need to talk to us so we can give you the project ideas.
Madam Chair, point of order.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. At this time, I'm going to call on Chris Beardley. Sorry. Name, district, and up to 3 minutes.
I just had one clarifying question. When we were talking about minority-owned businesses, was there a set-aside?
What is your name, sir?
Oh, my name is Christopher Beardsley. Sorry, my name is Christopher
that's
Beardsley.
okay.
When we were discussing minority-owned businesses, I can address the question to the.
We'll write down
Okay.
your question and we'll definitely get back with
Okay.
you.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. A report last week by the White House Council of Economic Advisors showed that home ownership decreased for every 5-year age gap from 21 to 25 up to 66 to 70 between 2000 and 2023. In Delaware alone, unemployment has surpassed 5%, which hasn't been this high since 2021. 40% of Delawarean households fall under the asset-limited, income-constrained, employed category. 1 in 5 low-income families that are eligible for government assistance for housing actually receive it. It is not a shock for anyone how bad the homelessness and affordability crisis is, and it shouldn't come to a shock for Mayor Carney, who has been a steward to this crisis. The Delaware is facing. John Carney has been in office from 2000 to 2023, and now we are to believe his current proposal won't make things worse. What research has shown is that private equity is buying off homes from low-income neighborhoods, pulling starter homes from the market, forcing people into those communities to pay higher rent and creating class divides in so-called mixed-income housing, where one class of people are moving in to enjoy the amenities of the city, and another class of people, typically local residents, who work 2 to 3 jobs serving a transient populace. We understand the predicament that Wilmington is in, the largest city in the state. The confluence and intersection of economic hardship and the local and national level was bound to manifest here. But don't let Mayor Carney steal $20 million from y'all. We agree there needs to be more housing, but current industry practices are profiting off a necessity we all need with no safeguards in place. The market is not coming to save us, and without any policy solutions, we end up exactly where we are now. That $20 million will not be with the people, but will be with those making a profit off of their pain and making a business off of their struggle. And I appreciate council asking all these questions, because what I've seen today has been complete disrespect. From Mayor Carney, who has been in public service for 30 years, you think he'd show more of an interest in being able to provide answers to the council. No knowledge of how many units that this city needs to be affordable, no
35 seconds.
Number of years of affordability, no agreement of the AMI, no set-asides. 30 plus years, and this is the best that Mayor Carney has to offer. At worst, it's lazy, disrespectful. At best, it's entitled.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris. At this time, I'm calling on Stephanie Walker. Stephanie? Be careful. Be careful. Be careful over here, too. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair and council members. Reverend Dr. Stephanie Graham Walker, transitional pastor at the Hanover Presbyterian Church, quad chair for the Poor People's Campaign, member of the Justice and Peace Committee, Newcastle Presbyterian Church, USA. I'm standing here tonight to yell 911. 911. There is a humanitarian crisis in this city. I don't know how many of you volunteered during Cold Purple, but I did. At St. Andrews, Sam's, and First and Central, they were overwhelmed trying to provide shelter day and night for unhoused people in this community. The faith community is stretched beyond our abilities. We are feeding and clothing people in this city every single day. So the disastrous way that this winter was handled, we cannot allow that to happen again next winter or this summer. Something has got to be done. This is a moral issue. This is a crisis. We cannot be silent. I can't sleep at night knowing that people who come to our congregation their lives are at risk. Their lives are at risk. I know I can't use any curse words in here, but it is beyond that at this point. My heart is broken. I'm almost in tears. We will not be silent. We will not let this issue go until something is done. It is a moral issue. It is a humanitarian crisis. 911. 911. 911.
Yes, thank you, Reverend. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm gonna call Jerry at this particular time. Jerry? Is Jerry still here? Jerry Cherry. Yes. Yes, thank you.
Absolutely. Good evening.
Good evening.
Jerry Cherry here, 6th District.
Yes, thank you.
I'm not only a concerned citizen,
Mhm.
I am a social media influencer, and I'm a former member of the Real Estate and Housing Department. Worked there for many years. But I want to say this. I know some things from the inside that you wouldn't know being on the outside. So therefore, my statement first is they're working under a lot of constraints. You ask for some things that they can't give you because of regulations. How do I know? Because that's what I did. I ate regs for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So in defense of the department, I'm just saying, you know, they're doing the very best that they can with 8.9 people. What are you at? 8, 9 people? I couldn't figure it out, you know. They have also the smallest budget in the city, from what I could see. So that's in their defense. But on the other side of the fence, as a concerned citizen, I have to say that we need to do something. We need to do something now. So this isn't about rent control or long-term subsidies. This is about preventing displacement in real time. Because right now, we have an immediate need for stabilization of people. That's right. Because when families are displaced, communities are disrupted. You're going to have violence. You're going to have all the things that you're seeing now. And it affects our students. Come on now. How can you go to school from a tent? This is not making sense. And if it doesn't make sense, if you continue to do what you've always done, that is what? Insanity. Thank you very much. Let's do something different.
Thank you. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to call Patrick Butler. Patrick, okay, the handwriting. I'm doing my best. That's why I'm asking everyone to pronounce your name when you get up here. Well, Reverend, you didn't have that on here.
Good evening, Madam Chairwoman.
Good evening.
Members of the committee. My name is Reverend Patrick Burke. I'm an Episcopal priest serving at the Episcopal Church of Saints Andrew and Matthew at 8th and Shipley, which is in District 4. I live in District 2 with Shanae Darby. I serve as one of the quad chairs of the Delaware Poor People's Campaign, and I serve on Governor Meyer's Interfaith Council. Many of you know that for decades, our ministry work at SAM has been serving those without homes and living in poverty. So hearing that there might be millions of dollars available to support the construction of affordable housing in Wilmington has brought us a lot of hope. And many of you will remember that we had a proposal on the table with the Homelessness Task Force to put more affordable housing on our property. From firsthand experience, we know just how long the wait list is to get a shelter bed in Wilmington. We know how small the number of units of permanent supportive housing is here in Wilmington. And many of the folks that we serve on a day in and day out basis could really use permanent supportive housing. It's just not available. And we know firsthand just how unaffordable the housing that has been publicly subsidized for the last 20 years actually is. I would echo the concerns of Councilors Darby and Owens and Willauer and Bracey that have been echoed here tonight. And I would support reasonable and actionable requests that have been heard that instead of funneling these funds to large developers for units that will only be affordable for 5 years, that instead these funds go to, again, creating a wait list and more dollars for homeowner repairs instead of a lottery system, more shelter beds and permanent supportive housing to help people get out of homelessness, break the cycle of poverty, and remain housed. that funds are available for eviction prevention and emergency rental assistance to help families stay in their homes, rent stabilization to protect renters from unexpected spikes in their rent. And I would just say that I appreciate the narrative and the intent that Director Weir has stated. But unfortunately, I think the history of housing in Wilmington has shown that over time we have a pattern of money going to big developers and not to affordable housing that sticks and that keeps people in their housing. As a Christian leader, I believe that we should always strive to build community that cares for everyone, but especially the vulnerable. And I've come to that belief because of what we hear in many of our sacred texts, but I think specifically of the book of Acts, chapter 2, verse 44, where we hear all who believed were together and had all things in common. They would sell their possessions and goods and distribute the proceeds to all as any has need. This verse describes the earliest Christian community where their faith compelled them to use their collective resources to care for each other.
3 minutes.
As we work on a
Seconds.
budget that serves all residents and members of this community, I pray that we will make wise decisions to use the funds that come from the community to serve members of our community in sustainable ways, distributing our goods to all, meeting these very specific housing needs in this moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend. Thank you very much. Cheyenne? And while Cheyenne is coming, I want to announce that we're moving the HR budget hearing to Monday, May the 4th. So if you're here for the HR budget hearing, it's being moved. It's not going to be held tonight. It's going to be Monday, May the 4th. Thank you. Be careful.
We got a couple of items that we wanted to make sure that we handed out to every city council member. I'm a little disappointed that we don't have everybody in the room today. But city council was so generous when they went to go to the park and gave out $20 tents to all of these homeless people that were down at Christina Park. And so we thought we would also do the same for you. Each and every single member of city council here has been offered a $20 Temu tent. We hope that you'll accept it. We appreciate it. You can live in the same conditions that you said that you would require for some of our most vulnerable residents to live in a tent that is not waterproof, in a tent that is 10 by 10 feet, smaller than your bathrooms, as we've heard earlier. If you don't think this is sufficient to live in, we do hope that you'll change your mind about ensuring that some of that $20 million goes to some shelters and some permanent supportive housing. But if you think this is sufficient for them to live in, please take these. These are for you. We want to see permanent supportive housing supported. We want to see funding for it. We want to see funding for emergency shelters for the homeless. It is not good enough to put people in a park. We want to see rental assistance funded because there's no reason why we should allow more people who cannot afford their rent in a city where rent is running $2,000 or more, falling behind on their rent. We should not see it. We want to see settlement assistance because for those individuals who are going to court, we're going to need to keep them housed and not make sure that they are not evicted. We want to see money get put into a homeowner repair fund that is permanent, not one that is a lottery. You are asking seniors to apply every single year, every time a lottery comes up to reapply. We should be keeping track of which seniors need help, not forcing them to go back and do onerous paperwork every time a lottery comes up, every single time. I'm asking for every city council member, whether they are here in person, whether they are online, or whether they do not sit on this committee and are not listening, to support these things. Support a budget that actually helps the people. I hope you guys will do that. Otherwise, what you can do is you can take these tents and you can go down to the park yourselves and experience what it's like to live in a 10 by 10 tent on a 15 by 15 plot, 6 feet from your neighbor. 6 feet from your
Yeah.
neighbor.
15 seconds left.
We hope that you will commit to making sure that this budget funds these things.
Thank you very much. Can you please remove the boxes and put them in the back?
No, they're for you.
Oh, no, thank you. We need them in the back, please. We want you, you can leave them here, but take them in the back. You're obstructing the view here. No, in the back. You can take them in the back. If you want, we're asking politely and respectfully. We don't mind leaving them here. Okay. Thank you. All right. Is it Jean Camber? You can pronounce your name when you come up. Jean? We have a number of people left, and I don't think that these boxes, I think they deserve the respect to have the boxes in the back. That's what this.
I like them.
Oh, I understand. You can announce your name and your district, and you have up to 3 minutes. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jean Kambara. I'm actually from Newark, but I come in because I do a lot of work in Christina Park, and I was here to kind of represent the people best as I can. So I'm critical of conflicts of interest regarding kind of donations that member of the councils are receiving. And I'd like to kind of just take a moment to kind of get some things on the record and read off some numbers for people. So the minimum amount of donated money that we know about from the Buchanan family and BPG is as follows. So we know that the following council members have gotten this amount. 1 second, pulling up my receipts here. I see why you guys don't like queer people very much. We pay attention to a lot of stuff. 1 second, sorry.
I can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me? My apologies, I'll be a little louder. So Michelle Harley, District 4, received $1,117 from the Buchanan family and BPG. We know Xanthia Oliver received $3,800. We know James Spadola, hello James, received $1,200. We know Maria Cabrera, council member at large, received $1,800.
Excuse me, this is not about that tonight. This is about the budget tonight, and as long as you stick to the budget.
Received $1,200.
Hold on.
Thank you very much.
Can we have respect? I respected you tonight, and can you please respect me?
Absolutely.
I'm just asking this lady here, if she has anything pertaining to the budget, I would like to hear it. That's
Absolutely.
what I'm asking.
So given that I think it's important for the public to know that where the money we are putting it towards, how excuse me.
Okay.
It's important for the public to know what donations are going towards our city council members who are deciding where their taxpayer money is going.
Okay.
Respect.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes. Keep talking. So, I mean, I only have about like $10 on me, honestly, but if anyone, if that's of any interest to anyone here, if that would sway you guys to maybe have morals, I got Venmo or Cash App also. So that's what I got for y'all tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Party gifts. Bid with BPG, like if we promise a little bit more than that. Party gifts.
Thank you. Okay, that was Jean, Charito, Bagwachi. Okay, watch your step, your name, your district, and you have up to 3 minutes. Thank you.
Good evening. I am Charito Calvachi Mateico, and I am a volunteer for the Homes campaign. And, you know, for me, it's important that we bring the context of what is going on in our country. We cannot, you cannot, I think, make decisions that affect lives without the context. We cannot make at this time decisions of giving subsidies to corporations and no subsidies to human beings. Because the moment that we are living is so dire that our criminal convicted fellow in chief in the Oval Office is doing exactly the opposite that we hope you do here. That's the big difference. The real solutions are not going to come from the White House, are not going to come from the federal government, are going to come from each one of you at the local level. That's the power you have, because you hear the people that know the people that are hurting, and that makes a difference. It is at the local level, and it is not, again, with corporate subsidies. You know, just to give you an example, corporate subsidies will go to make profit for corporations. And the example is that if you give money to create a jail, for example, a prison, they will put in the contract, oh, but you have to have this many people so we can invest in you. And then what you do? The police are going on the streets, getting all the people in the neighborhoods where they will be more vulnerable than others. So this is what you're opening up if you are doing corporate subsidies instead of people subsidies. You have heard the solutions. Yeah. The solution is about meeting the real basic human needs. It's like what you just did here. For you, your human need is to keep the respect and the way you understand the respect of this location. You did it. They also have that sense that they need to be respected in a human way.
100%. I agree with you 100%, ma'am.
Yes. So let's just imagine that if you don't do that, you will replicate what is happening, that our money is killing children in Palestine, that we are going to destroy a nation that have existed for millenniums because we have the big bags. And actually, there is no such a big bag. It's just death. And that is the only thing that trickle down to our cities.
2 seconds.
And we cannot, and you cannot, and any of you cannot allow that to happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
We the people.
Yes, thank you. Okay, we're going to go with John Mateico. John Mateico. Your name, district, and up to 3 minutes, sir. Be careful.
My name is John Mateico. I'm here tonight from Newark, and I'm going to be very brief. I'm an architect. I've been an architect for 50 years. This situation which you're facing in this city has been building almost my entire adult life. One administration after the other has moved further and further to the right and ignored the short period of time in this country we had during the New Deal period, and then before that briefly in the progressive period. You have to deal with the actual reality on the ground, not the people in Dover or Washington. You have the bodies, the people who are homeless, cold, hungry, and all the social problems that come to your community when you can't deal with them. This is a large issue that this whole country faces. You really have to pull back and take a bigger look at this. The people who are suffering in the park now, their needs have to be immediately addressed. That's getting real. That's the place to begin. The typical arrangement where most of this money winds up going to the same old development, that is not going to change this problem. That is part of the problem. Yes. It allows it to continue. The greatest supporter of this problem, really, are these inadequate programs which claim to be helping it. That's a diversion from
45
real,
seconds.
deep solutions. We have another 2.5 years to get through in this country before we get rid of the worst government, I think, in history. But you have to carry that ball locally. I would suggest from what I hear that you pull back on any vote in the immediate term and look for a larger solution to this, starting with the homeless that you have right on the ground now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. We're going to go to Lynn Kilhorn. Lynn? Your name, your district, and you have up to 3 seconds, 3 minutes.
3
and
seconds.
Please watch your step.
Hi, I'm Lynn Keelhorn.
Lynn?
I am not an expert in affordable housing or homelessness, but I am a business person, and this is a really bad business plan. If I had $20 million to spend on the issue, this is not at all where I would focus the money. We need to look at, emergency shelter. We need to look at transitional housing. We need to look at permanent supportive housing in addition to affordable housing. All those things need to be addressed. So my ask this evening is that we take this $20 million that we're talking about spending on this issue and take it out of the regular budget approval process so that it can have additional time to spend on it to put together what will be a good business plan for those dollars. Let's take it out, give us the time we need. If we look at the current plan for the affordable housing part, I'm going to focus on that $16.8 million that has been set aside to give to developing or creating 200 units of affordable housing. When I look at that as a business person, I have to laugh. It's $16.8 million that is essentially providing subsidies for 5 years for 200 families, and then at the end of that 5 years, the prices snap back, and those 200 families can no longer afford where they've been living. Okay? We have not succeeded in creating more affordable housing. All we've done is provide temporary subsidies. If we look at those numbers, okay, I did just some quick math here. That $16.8 million is for 200 units over 5 years, that's $84,000 per unit. If instead we use those same dollars to provide direct subsidies to residents, that would equate to $1,400 per month for 5 years. Okay?
39 seconds left.
Okay, sorry. And that is not what I'm recommending. I just want to say that's how you could, if you wanted to use those same dollars for subsidies, that's what it could cover, and that would be a smarter way of helping people with those dollars if you're going to use it for subsidies. On the other hand, if you went with Joe Connor's program, giving $5,000 for move-in money, that would cover 3,360 people or families helped. Okay, there are lots of other ways you can put those dollars to better use, and we need the time to figure out a better plan because the current one does not work. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, thank you, Lynn. Thank you. All right. Director, since we are still in a meeting, do you have any comments that you would like to make, that you've heard?
Wow, thank you. No, there's plenty of things that are going through my mind. I'm actually taking the time to be present and listen to what's being said. As far as when we talk about some of these comments, I think there's some inaccuracies that are being propagated, but at the same time, I think it's worth to be present and to listen and to process.
Absolutely. Okay. Because there was one question that I have, and that is, I just heard after the 5 years, okay, what happens after 5 years? Does the rent go up for the affordable housing? Like that needs clarity right there.
I think we're talking about an affordability period, and it was suggested, because this is proposed, that it could be as low as 5 years. And I believe in my presentation, I mentioned that it would be tied to how many dollars were being put in as far as driving that affordability period higher. So there's nothing I'm hearing that is either I'm opposed to or shocked at, that we talk about affordability period. That's going to guarantee some things. The marketplace does not automatically snap back, and all of a sudden you go from a rent at $600 a month to a rent that's $3,000 a month. I think there's no history of that you can point to. So, I mean, when you look at some of the things that are being said, yes, we have a need. Yes, I don't think there's anybody that say we don't need housing. There is some discussion points as to what is the best way of using this money, and as far as the whole goal for me is to provide more affordable housing.
Okay.
So.
All right, thank you. I just wanted to give you that opportunity.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, we have some individuals that are on the Zoom that I am going to switch over to at this point in time. Jeffrey Lott. Jeffrey Lott. Okay, I'll come back. S-A-Y.
Madam Chair, I've already gone, but if you like, I have more to say. I can go again.
Oh, no.
Oh.
If you've already spoken.
I'll just come back the next meeting.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Manna? Is there a Manna here?
Maria?
Okay, is there, let's see, Maria.
I'm here in person.
Okay, Maria.
I already spoke.
Okay, so if I call your name and you've already spoken, just let me know. Tyler Bear. Tyler, did you already speak? Yes? Okay. Thank you. Bud Friel? Bud Friel? Okay. Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Chair, council members, and Wilmington residents. My name is Bud Friel, and I'm the president of the Wilmington Land Bank. I live in the 8th District. Thank you for the opportunity to comment. Having a little experience with budget hearings, I will be very brief. As you know, the Wilmington Land Bank's mission is to return vacant and delinquent properties back to productive use while strengthening and revitalizing our neighborhoods and inspiring economic development. Since our inception and working with other nonprofit housing providers, we've been able to return over 300 vacant properties to affordable home ownership and rental units. It would not have been possible without the support of city administrations and councils. I'm here this evening to support the city's investment of $20 million in creating more affordable housing units in Wilmington. The Land Bank hopes to play a key role by providing vacant land already in our inventory. The Land Bank already has a good track record of creating job opportunities for small minority builders and developers to acquire vacant houses. We feel the $20 million investment will continue to offer these opportunities. I appreciate the discussion about housing this evening and hope you will support the Department of Real Estate and Housing's fiscal year 2027 budget. Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to go to, let's see here, Christopher. Christopher doesn't have a last name here. Okay. Christopher, if you're on Zoom, you can speak at this time. Okay. Okay, while he's trying to unmute, I'm going to call Latoya Reeves. Latoya Reeves, are you on Zoom? Okay, Rosalind Gordy. Okay, welcome back. David Schley, Schley, David.
Yes, that's me.
Okay.
Most people have already said most of my sentiments. I'm mostly in favor of the budget, with the caveat that I don't understand why we need developers involved with the get a lot part of the program, and why we can't make that kind of direct to citizens. Great. So thank you.
Is that all you have, sir?
It is. Thank you.
Oh, all right, thank you so much. All right, I'm going to Adeem, A-D-E-M. Adam? Adam, okay. Okay. Your name, your district, and up to 3 minutes, sir.
Yeah, I'm a Dem. I live on the outskirts of Wilmington because I can't afford to live in the city anymore. I had a couple of questions I hope will be answered. So I heard there was this program for $150,000 for people living, trying to move to the city to live where they work. How is that? Why is putting money into transplants a good idea, but this trying to get some rental assistance is a no-go? I just want to know, like, what your logic is there, and why are we subsidizing gentrification openly like that? Like, bringing in people from outside gets $150,000, but people living here get zero. Am I understanding that correctly? No. Secondly, I think it was very enlightening that, so thank you guys for going over this, that big and small developers have nothing to do with the actual size of the company. That was really interesting to me, because that's saying that any billion-dollar company is going to get the same treatment from you. And this is clearly a transfer of wealth from the taxes we provide you guys to the wealthy. All right, so the only thing I'm going to say other than that is that I hope that you guys listen to these nice people coming here, because a lot of people that aren't coming to these city council meetings trying to make ends meet, when you keep screwing us over, there's going to be a lot more of us that can't afford to live, and we're gonna do what we have to do to survive, okay? So we want you to keep the system going, keep the landlords getting their money, as you do. Help them out, give people some rental assistance so the landlords can get their money. Because if things get to the point where if it's a direct extraction of our money by the landlords, we're gonna take care of those landlords ourselves.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Stephanie Royal. Stephanie, are you here? Okay. Since your name wasn't on the sign-up sheet, you can just share your name and your district in up to 3 minutes. Thank you.
So my name is Stephanie Royal. When I was born in 1971 at Wilmington General Hospital, my mother took me home to a tent under the 141 bridge. My biological family was the subject matter of 5 articles by the News Journal called The Woman Under the Bridge. I was subsequently placed with Child Protective here in Delaware and adopted. Now at the age of 54, I am a homeowner. I am blessed enough to be a homeowner. However, here in Newcastle County, due to the increased cost of living, my household is struggling to hold on. I may once again become a statistic, a foreclosure statistic. I want to speak to one talking point this evening that stands out to me: affordability. It takes a child 18 years to grow into an adult. That's the timeline families are living on. So when we talk about a 5-year affordability, it's hard to see that as a stabilized housing option. It feels more like a temporary bridge, and an unstable one at that. Without a path forward beyond those 5 years, families could find themselves right back where they started, unhomed, facing reassessments and rising utility costs they can't keep up with. We don't want a Band-Aid, we want a viable solution. We need thoughtful, inclusive housing options for all, especially young, vulnerable families. I want to end with, we have more questions than answers here tonight. We need more time so that we can take all of these questions, hear the residents that are here, because you are residents. You are residents, and you deserve to be treated as such.
So are you.
Please vote no. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. At this time, I'm going to ask for Ann Aviles to come. Ann, if you're here, Ann Aviles.
Hi, I'm online. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you so much. My name is Ann Aviles, and I'm in the 8th District of Wilmington, also work with Homes Campaign. I know a lot has already been said, so I will not repeat some of the things that have already been said. I just want to focus on money going towards people and not towards more development or developers, I should say. I do think it's important that we continue to build housing that is truly affordable for people at all economic levels. But development projects can take years, as we've heard here. 2 to 5 years, right, to even build the housing, where the funding being sent directly to the people is works instantly, right? So we know that when a family is facing eviction, providing them with rental assistance can help stabilize them. And as the person just spoke before me, many times when children are in school, losing their housing is very disruptive. If we fund people, it allows them to stay in their current neighborhood. This also allows them to maintain their jobs and to stay in school. As you've heard from many residents tonight, as the city becomes more and more unaffordable, people have a hard time staying in their jobs because commuting to and from can also become very expensive. We know that rental assistance, emergency rapid rehousing, permanent supportive housing are all forms of homeless prevention. And as we've seen a 16% in the number of people experiencing homelessness from this year, from this last year, we know that homelessness is on the rise. The $16 million would be better utilized to stabilize families, to make sure they can stay in their homes, to rapidly rehouse people when they lose housing, and to support a rental assistance fund, and finally, a homeowner repair program that is not based on a lottery. So again, I'm going to agree with many folks tonight and say, please do not vote yes for this budget. There are too many unanswered questions and too many lives are at stake. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Okay, we're coming down to our last two for public comment. Ebony Benson and then Sarah Lester. Ebony?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, I just have a question. I was wanting to stop the rent increase with these landlords. And also I have a little suggestion for the developers, the mayor, the governor, and you council people. It really doesn't affect you guys, so that's just why it's taking you guys so long to do what's right for us Wilmington people. We all is just one paycheck away from homelessness. We all will be down there at Tent City if we keep going the way we going. I feel like if you guys allow the money to keep being where it needs to be, Wilmington will be all right. Wilmington will be safe. Wilmington won't be having all this crime going on. It's a lot of crime and there's a lot of stuff going on because people ain't making no money. People don't got nowhere to go. And people out here cold and they just struggling to live. I think everybody should just do what they supposed to do, let the money flow where it's supposed to flow, help with affordable housing, instead of giving it to the developers, instead of keeping it in y'all pockets, and help everyone out so everyone can be able to live. Because that's where all this crime is coming from. That's where you pushing everybody down there, all different mental health problems, all different problems, and you pushing them all down to the tent city, and that's why we having more crime. You pushing everybody out. These landlords, y'all just giving them what they want. Every year, the rent keep going up. I'm paying $1,900 just to live over in South Bridge. That's too much. And then when I try to go out and buy a home, the price is so high that you can't even afford it, especially with the what we getting for our pay rate down here. That's all I gotta say. I have a lot more to say, but I got my granddaughter here with me, and I'm cooking.
Okay.
I thank all of y'all for just taking your time out and listening to everybody's problems and suggestions. But please do something for us here in Wilmington instead of just allowing everybody else to come in and enjoy Wilmington when they ain't been here. We the ones been living here all our lives.
All right. Thank you very
guys,
much.
And y'all have a good evening.
All right. Thanks, Ebony. All right. Sarah? Sarah Lester?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. My name's Sarah Lester. Sorry that I'm not there in person. I live in the 5th District. I'm an affordable housing developer in the city of Wilmington. I run Cornerstone West CDC, and I also think the rent is too darn high in Wilmington. I appreciate the opportunity in general to increase funding available for affordable housing development. And what I'm hearing, and I heard from Miss Jerry Cherry out there too, is that we need more money for housing in the city budget, period, to address the needs that so many people are raising here tonight. I do want to say that there are many small developers doing good work in the city. We do what we say we are going to do, and we hold ourselves accountable to our neighbors, to our local business owners, to our community leaders, our church leaders, to our funders, and to our elected officials. We provide critical home repairs to seniors. We build new homes for first-time home buyers. We build transitional permanent supportive housing and more. Of course, I'm going to say that we need more funding for physical affordable housing development. It costs $350,000 to build one house, whether you are renovating it, gutting it and renovating it, or building brand new. And we all know that for a house to be affordable, if someone wants to buy it, and this is just purchasing, but that house is going to have to be sold for $200,000 or less. So we depend as affordable housing developers on multiple sources of funding to make the numbers work. And sometimes we can't make them work, and investors or other for-profit developers swoop in. I know I will sound idealistic to some, but I'm still hopeful that the city can increase money for truly affordable housing supply and funding for down payment, settlement assistance, home repair, rental assistance, eviction services, etc. So many things folks said tonight. I appreciate the presentation from the city, which I missed some of, and I'll go back and check it out. The city's council's questions and the previous public comments. I'm continuing to learn a lot from you all on this topic, and I'm happy to share any lessons I've learned. You know, the work that we do on the west side is collaborative, and maybe this idea is obvious or already attempted, but could we explore an approach that brings developers, residents, council members, advocates, the mayor's administration, and others together to build a holistic plan that addresses housing needs across the city at every level?
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you. That's a great ideal, and I really appreciate your comments. So at this time, I do want to thank our, first of all, thank Mr. Hayford. I want to thank our OMB fiscal and operational analysts, and excuse me for a second here. Okay, all right. So at this time, I do want to thank again Mr. Hayford, our OMB fiscal and operational analyst, to you, Director Weir, W-I-R, right? Weir. Okay, as well as the entire OMB team. And if there's any follow-up information, we're asking that you provide it to Ms. Bassnight. Also, I want to announce again that the Law Department, the Public Works Department, and Water Sewer Fund will take place on Wednesday, April the 29th at 4:30. So again, the Law Department and Public Works Department and the Water Sewer Fund and presentation will take place on Wednesday, April the 29th at 4:30. Also, I'm going to suggest that you please tune in to WITN 22 to watch our meetings. Also, you can watch online, www.witn22.org. Also, budget information is available at www.wilmdebudget.org. And so before I take a motion to adjourn, I want to thank each and every person that came out to share your comments on tonight, those that are in the chambers, as well as those that are on Zoom. I really do appreciate Director Ware. I don't know why I can't say your name tonight, but Dr. Weir, Director Weir, I thank you and appreciate you listening. And as you had shared, you were present to take down some information. And we are looking forward to continuing the conversation with you, Director, because it had already been suggested that we come together to talk about housing and to better understand how the $16 million was going to actually roll out if and when this budget does pass. So I just want to say thank you and to be prepared. And hopefully what you heard tonight, we will be able to follow up on some of the suggestions that were shared. So again, everyone, thank you for coming out on the Zoom and the chambers. And at this time, I would like to take a motion.
So moved.
Second. Thank you, everyone, and have a good night. And thank you for the boxes.